Yeah, because it's I think I was um, I have to be honest, I have not seen Makadud myself, but I know it's an Indian movie about how the dairy industry in India. So I was just wanted since you said you weren't vegetarian, and but you said you only use dairy in the coffee and you don't have access to plant milk. Am I correct?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah. So that's why I was like wanted to just curious if you had seen that documentary, but oh well. I'm almost. I have to go in 5 minutes, but maybe someone else can link it in the chat. If I think it's available on the YouTube. You can. It's over 2 hours long, but
Oh, no
if
worries.
you're
I'll link it.
interested
I'll link
in
it.
it, you can.
I think
I would.
I think I'm aware of. I'm aware of the industry how it works.
Yeah. So how do we get milk from cows in India?
Yeah, like we have dairy farms where they like forcefully impregnated a lot of like cattle,
Mhm.
and then when when cow delivers child, the the calf, they like abandon the calf and they just use as a as a you can say as a milk machine, not a living being.
And you pay for this. Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. You think that's a good thing to pay for?
Yeah, actually, I don't support that industry, but you can say it's a kind of hobby. I think in India, most of the people are vegetarian, but they use dairy product only. But you can say we have been conditioned for that,
Sorry, what's the claim?
and we think we don't have skin in the game, but yeah, we try to like defend every time.
I'm not understanding. What's the claim? Why is it okay to pay for animals to be impregnated and exploited?
Yeah, because I think they don't put their food into that situation. That's why they
Sorry,
cannot
again?
experience.
I'm just not understanding what you're saying. Can you please be clear?
I said that. I said that we as a human don't put our foot into the cattle shoes. Animal shoes, so we cannot experience their their suffering.
Oh, I understand. What do you think is the
And
difference
sometimes
between the suffering of the animal and the suffering of the human?
I think we as a human we value our life a lot, but we don't care about animals. But if we think
That's the
ethically
statement of
and
ease.
morally,
I'm not asking this. I'm asking what is the difference between an animal and a human, not how you perceive the suffering of the animal and how you perceive the suffering of the human. What is the actual difference, right?
yeah, I think both are like in that logic we can say that both are sentient beings. So we can also say that they feel some kind of similar to us.
Yeah, so why is it okay then to cause suffering to animals? And now I'm asking just to make
Yeah,
sure
but
that you understand. I'm asking like a moral question. Why ought we cause suffering to animals? Why should we cause suffering to animals when we can not cause suffering to animals? Right.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I understand it is a moral question, but
And what's the
what I
moral
try to say
answer?
that we can like reduce the cause of suffering, but we cannot eradicate completely.
Why not?
It's impossible.
Well, no, in in case of dairy farming, it's incredibly easy to just eliminate. You just like globally just stop buying dairy, and farmers, I promise you, are gonna stop shoving their hands up the asses of cows. That's 100% guarantee that No farmer will continue shoving their ass up the asses of cows if you stop paying them.
Yeah, I agree with you, but what about like other cause of suffering that we cause on animals
Yeah.
in like
so,
various directions?
Yeah. So whatever you can relieve animals of your like wherever you can, not impose your existence on animals, you therefore should stop imposing your existence on animals. Dairy is incredibly easy. You just replace whatever dairy you drink, like replace dairy paneer with soy paneer, replace dairy curd with soy curd, replace dairy milk with soy milk. And you don't causing this suffering. If you can find another place where you cause suffering and you can stop that as well, you should stop that as well. Right? Is that kind of, does that make sense?
Yeah, of course, I agree with your view.
Mm-hmm. So what's stopping you from stopping this type of suffering that your existence causes to animals?
Yeah, I think in my opinion, I have been like you can say socially and mentally conditioned for that. I cannot acknowledge that my action cause suffering on animals, but I know that it's not true. But every time I try to defend my, you can say, my consumption by thinking in other direction, like our all consumption cause some kind of suffering on animals, and we cannot eradicate that.
Let's make
So
let's make
I
it
think
incredibly simple, right? What do you think causes more suffering? Dairy paneer or soy paneer?
of course, Fanny.
Sorry, excuse me?
Of course, so yeah.
Soy paneer causes more suffering, you think?
No, I said less.
Less.
Of course, less.
Okay, awesome. So there you go. There is the solution. You just replace your dairy suffering with your much lesser soy suffering, and presto, you've reduced suffering. That's without
Yeah,
going
that's why I said
into...
we could make like marginal difference.
You think that would make a marginal difference? What are you basing that assumption on?
Yeah, because because like what we have been doing with Earth, like cause suffering on animals and a lot of you can say innocent sentient beings.
Please concentrate. Please concentrate. We are now comparing soy paneer to dairy paneer. You said that switching from dairy paneer to soy paneer would reduce suffering marginally, meaning in a small way, right? Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
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 Please tell me how you got to that conclusion.
Like our everyday action like cause suffering on animals. Like suppose we're using
Please
mobile phone or computer.
We are comparing soy paneer to dairy paneer. You say replacing dairy paneer with soy paneer would reduce suffering only a little bit. Please tell me how you got to that without generalizing, right? Tell me how you got to that conclusion.
What I'm saying is, but if we compare like both like soya and paneer, so we can clearly see that soya paneer cause less suffering, or you can say
it's
about
just
zero
a
suffering.
little bit less. So please provide evidence and tell me, just like at this point, just tell me how you got to the conclusion that soy reduces just a little bit of suffering for dairy, and therefore, supposedly, therefore, you say, well, then it's not worth doing.
Yeah, but if you compare these two, so we can see clearly. But I was talking about like every aspect of our life, not just soya paneer and
excuse me,
and milk paneer.
I would appreciate if you actually stuck, right? Because I gave you a really, really specific example. I told you, ditch dairy and whatever dairy you're eating, just replace it with soy, right? So instead of dairy paneer, you eat soy paneer. Instead of dairy milk, you drink soy milk. And instead of dairy curd, you eat soy curd. You said, yeah, that would reduce suffering, but just a little bit. Just a little bit. Please tell me how you got to that conclusion. I can help you out, right? I can debunk you
It doesn't,
if you want, if that helps.
doesn't soy protein cause like bloating and stuff?
No. Now, sorry, what's your name? Akhilesh, is that okay?
Achilles, yeah.
Achilles, okay.
Yeah.
So, were you just like guessing when you said that?
Yeah, I said by comparing like other aspects of our like we consume electricity and we consume like internet, so we can say that our action caused suffering.
Yeah, we know that. That's clear to everybody. But I said, right, you can reduce suffering because you care about suffering, right? Yeah, I would say you should strive for like eliminating suffering if you care about suffering, right? I care about rights. It's a little different from suffering, but you care about suffering. And I said, if you replace your dairy products with soy products, you would reduce suffering. And I can even give you like a direct number of how much you would reduce it. But you said, no, I would reduce it just a little bit. So I'm asking, what were you guessing when you said that?
But I said by comparing like absolute in absolute term, like suppose we make an analogy that because like you can say 100 number of or 100 units of suffering on animals by living on this earth. So if we like avoid consuming milk product, it could reduce like 2 point or maybe 1 point in absolute term. That's what I'm saying.
And what's your evidence for that?
Yeah, not evidence. You can see that.
You're just guessing, right? You're guessing. You're just guessing. So you can't say
not
it's
guessing.
actually 1 point or 2 points.
You can search. No, I gave you an analogy. That's not the complete fact. I said that when we live on this
analogy,
earth,
but then you made empirical claims. So when you make an empirical claim, Akhilesh, you should either back it up by evidence or make sure that everybody knows that you're just going on vibes, that you're just making it up. Right? You're just throwing in numbers, right? And I can actually prove you. I can actually prove you wrong. I can show you that you would reduce you would cause about 10 times less suffering in dairy specifically if you ditch dairy and go for soy.
What will I get in benefit?
Sorry?
Yeah.
I said, like, what will I get in benefit? Like,
well, Akhilesh cares about the suffering of animals, and he would gain not causing the maximum amount of suffering to animals, but causing a little less suffering to animals. So that's what I'm talking to Akhilesh about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but BPM, actually, I have watched a lot of like a documentary about mining sector. And how like our internet system cause most of the, many migratory birds.
Sorry, are you moving away from veganism now? Because that's what it sounds like. Because environmentalism has nothing to do with veganism. That's a red herring. Are you changing the subject? Because that would be ill-advised.
But that, yeah, but do you know that why that happened? Because of our actions. So you cannot deny this.
Yeah.
Because by saying that it is not in our area of history, but
Akhilesh,
the problem is our action.
Yeah. Remember, first of all, right? It is a red herring. You are changing the subject to environmentalism, which is not what veganism is. Veganism is about.
I just talking about suffering. I'm not going beyond suffering. I only care about like how our action affect the environment and the ecosystem that could cause a lot of suffering on animals.
Okay. And why don't you then reduce the suffering that you cause? Why don't you do that?
I think that is very marginal. Like as I said, I use only 150 ml.
What is your evidence for your claim that would be marginal? And I know you said, yeah. If we look at the larger scheme, no, please provide. You're making an empirical claim. Please provide evidence for the empirical claim that you made. If you're making the claim that it's marginal to stop drinking dairy or eating dairy and drinking and eating soy instead, please provide evidence for that.
So actually, I consume only 150 ml. That's why I can say that. For me, I think it's marginal.
Why is okay? You know what? I'm gonna grant it. It's marginal. You don't have evidence for your claim actually that it would be marginal. You're just saying, well, I'm consuming this many grams per day, and therefore it's marginal. That's not an evidence for your claim. But let me be incredibly charitable.
Let me clarify that.
Let me be incredibly charitable towards you and say, okay, let's say that it's marginal reduction of suffering. As someone who values reducing suffering, why wouldn't you do this? Why wouldn't you marginally reduce the suffering that you cause?
Yeah, I said, and I mentioned that we have been conditioned for this. I think we cannot acknowledge that fact.
Sorry,
because we have been conditioned for that.
What fact?
What fact? Like we don't acknowledge that our action cause, like as I mentioned, I consume 150.
You acknowledge it.
So
you acknowledge it, and then you acknowledge that you're causing more suffering, and that you could very easily cause less suffering, but you refuse to. Why?
Yeah, I also support animal rights, but I want to say that
Why don't you support the animals whom you pay with your money, with your rupee, to be raped and exploited? Why don't you just like buy something else that causes less suffering? Since you value reduction of suffering, you value it, you said.
Yeah, of course I value, but
so why
you can say it's a kind of defense mechanism.
Please answer my question. Then why wouldn't you ditch dairy today?
Let me tell you why. Can I give you my better reason?
No, that's a question to Akhilesh, and I would appreciate if Akhilesh answered it on his values.
Yeah, I think in my area, I cannot access like vegan milk. I have only like cow milk, or you can say in general milk.
Sorry, you don't have soy TVP chunks. You don't have soy curd. You don't have tofu, which is soy curd, basically. You don't have soy paneer in your area?
Yeah, we have actually, but I don't have access to soya milk.
That's fine. You can just like do whatever you do with milk. You can just do without milk, right? It wouldn't kill you, right? Milk is a privilege, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So why don't you do that today?
Yeah, I tried and I reduced my consumption drastically, but
why don't you eliminate your consumption since you care about reduction of suffering? Why wouldn't you reduce the maximum amount? Like, it's like me saying, well, listen, I really care about reducing rape, so I'm gonna do rape just a little bit. Sounds familiar? Because you know that cows are raped in the dairy industry, so sounds familiar, right? Why wouldn't you eliminate rape?
Yeah.
Because I promise you, nobody is raped for soy, right?
Yeah, of course. But as I mentioned, we have been like conditioned. Our mind is conditioned for like consuming milk is it's a kind of normal thing for us. Yeah. So it is hard to uncondition our mind. That's why I tried every time to defend that I consume milk, but my consumption might reduce marginal difference in overall suffering.
You keep saying this, so I'm just gonna prove to you that it's 10 times the reduction of suffering as you care about it, right? And it's completely different type of suffering. By the way, I'm gonna prove it to you. I'm gonna give me a second. Ethics. Where is my trophic levels? Where did I have them? Let me share my screen first of all. I completely restructured this thing, so now I have no idea where the stuff is. Propaganda, trophic levels. There you go, trophic levels. You know what trophic levels are? Okay, Lesh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is pretty clear. So
Incremental
the producers are the plants, right? So the plants can give us 10,000 calories. But if what you do is you feed those plants to animals, and then get those animals, either slaughter them for meat or drain them for milk or something like that, you're losing 9,000 calories in that transaction. Yeah. So if you're saying that this producer causes any kind of suffering, you're causing 10 times more suffering by first feeding this producer, the plants, to the cow, and then taking cow milk from her. That's not marginal, I would say. That's pretty substantial, yeah? You know how many people you could feed with those 9,000 calories?
I said...
But my question is...
With 10,000, we can feed like 3 or 5%.
But what if these calories are like grass? Like I cannot digest grass directly, right? So I cannot eat it. Like...
Yeah, cows don't eat grass; they eat soy and.
But nobody asked you to eat track.
No, like I'm talking.
But
about
also,
like
instead of grass, you can just grass grows on arable land, so you can just grow like actual crops on where the grass used to be. If we stop impregnating cows to create more cows to exploit, we're not gonna need all that grass. We can just replace that grass with soy, and then. We don't lose the 9,000 calories.
But doesn't it like require maintenance? Like the farmer has to do so much work to like maintain it. Like.
Yep.
So it's not free, right? It's not free energy.
Well, it takes
still
less
a lot of effort.
It takes less to care for crops than it is for cows. Cows are sentient animals. They get sick.
Yeah, you have to produce more crop.
You have to produce more crop. Even if it's grass, grass is a crop. Grass is something that you need to care for. You need to rotate the cows, right? Even if it's like grass-fed, whatever the fuck. And you have to reseed it, and you have to choose what kind of grass you want, like high in clover and stuff like that, right? So that the cow actually produces milk that is not absolute shit. So you have to care for it like a lot, and you have to care for 10 times more crop than if you would just grow soy and then feed that soy to people.
Yeah, but what if somebody has allergy or doesn't like soy? Like, you should also look into the human part, right?
Yeah, so 0.3% of the population have soy allergies. And those who don't like soy haven't tasted it for long enough. Taste buds change. If you eat tofu for about a week straight, even if at first it tastes kind of weird, after a week it's gonna start tasting delicious. Also, you can put other plants on it to make it tastier. So like
But why does it start getting delicious after a week?
Excuse me?
Hello guys, subscribe to VPM.
I said, why does it start getting delicious after a week? Like, why not before?
Because your taste buds are they're kind of conditioned, right? So if you eat something every single day since you were a child, this is the thing that you're gonna want to taste because your taste buds say, I like this, right? But taste buds, they change all the time. If you stop feeding yourself something, after a week, you're not gonna be conditioned to it, or maybe you might be still conditioned to it in your mind, but your taste buds have changed completely. And
Well,
if
but
you yeah.
I have the opposite thing. Like I used to like drink smoothie before, like not regularly. Now I drink it regularly. Now I don't like it as much as before.
Great. Thank you for your anecdote. But generally speaking, people, when they start eating tofu at first, it's kind of weird, especially if they don't flavor it properly and don't cook it properly. But after a week, it starts being delicious, and tofu is delicious. So, there
Plus,
you
you're
go.
just proving the point by saying that
Yeah.
you used to like something and now it's changing.
Yeah.
You're essentially saying that you can change your taste.
Also, there is like your mind is involved. So if you're like your mind is sick of smoothies, but your taste buds still like it, that could condition your taste buds differently. So yeah.
I would say not like getting like delicious, but it's mainly getting used to. It's like a slightly difference because if you're not used to, you will feel like, oh, that's just horrible. But keeping eating it every day or every week or whatever, it will get like usual for you and not like, oh, that's disgusting. No, you already got used to it.
Yeah, that's how taste buds work. For real. That's how human psychology works as well. After a month, you won't even remember that you didn't like it.
Really, I wish I could forget things like that.
In any case, that's just like the question. I answered it, but I gotta point it out to you. Sorry, who was that? Who was saying about soy? Oh, Mars, to Mars. So
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, though, right? Your taste buds are not more important than the life and freedom of a sentient being. They're just not, right? It might feel like this, right? Because those are your taste buds, and that's not you suffering when you're getting raped for milk. But in the end, if you look at it objectively, if you remove your personal predispositions for a second, then just
Bro,
like,
I literally cannot live without milk. Like I need milk. and
what do you
to
need milk
survive.
for? What do you need milk for?
Well, I have an eating disorder, so I only drink liquids and I just like make smoothies. That's why I told you I'm tired of smoothies. So like, I literally just drink smoothies like chai and biscuits. That's it.
Yeah.
All day.
So you can make
So I-
smoothies based on water or soy milk, right?
There is this, bro. I live in a very shitty area. Like it's like shit. It's like 1800s basically.
Yeah.
I don't think there is anything like soy milk. It's just like
Mhm.
animal milk, like cow, buffalo milk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what you can also do is just, do you have oats where you live? The shitty place
Yeah,
where you
yeah,
live?
yeah.
Oats?
Yeah, I
So
actually put
you
oats,
just
but
can-
it
can-
makes it so heavy.
Yeah, so you can just add like a handful of oats into your smoothie and it's gonna taste as delicious as dairy milk. And
No,
also,
exactly.
you don't exploit animals anymore for it.
No, it makes it so heavy. Like I put only like 30, 40, 50 grams and I can barely drink smoothie then. Like,
Okay, so what you can also do is like first blend the oats and then remove the...
yeah.
Fuck,
I
I feel
made it
like
like
I'm
powder.
fucking contributing to your eating disorder. So let's just stop talking to you, if you don't mind, right? So I accept your proposition that someone with eating disorder probably should go get treatment instead of like trying to go vegan. So we can go and talk to somebody who can go vegan, if you don't mind, Tomas. I don't want to continue talking about eating disorders. I'm not qualified, if you don't mind.
Well, I was just talking about your stuff.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
think I
but if
was
you don't
talking
mind,
much
this is
about your
becoming
stuff.
incredibly serious. This is a medical matter and we shouldn't talk to you. I'm sorry. It's true. It's like...
Just chill out, dude. Like don't
Yeah,
get so
I'm
irritated.
incredibly chill. I'm just telling you, right, that I don't feel comfortable talking to somebody who has a medical condition. So I'm just gonna stop. I'm gonna stop talking to you. I'm gonna start talking to somebody else. And I'm incredibly chill, by the way. I'm just crass. That's what happens. Can we talk to somebody else, please, who doesn't have an eating disorder and is capable of going vegan?
BPM.
Yes.
Don't you think that we reduce our consumption of non-vegan food? So it is better for like if we compare non-vegan food. Like I used to like eat meat and egg and everything, but Now I only consume milk, so not that much. So don't you think that it is a drastic difference?
Not really. So if you look at this, my screen again, if you look at my share, I'm gonna make it bigger for you, and apologize to my audience. So if you look at this chart, right? This is the chart of environmental impact, because you care about that as well, right? That's what you're asking about environmental impact, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So here's milk, right? Now, if you look at it and you look at milk and you compare it to soy milk, still like 3 times more environmental impact, but doesn't look that much, right? Oh, but this only counts the liquid dairy. It doesn't count cheese, which is like soy, like curd, like dairy curd. That's also cheese, right? That's that. And it also doesn't count the fact that so beef dairy herds, they ended up being slaughtered. So if you take this dairy herd beef, right, and Kara beef is one of the biggest exports of India, right, and you add to it this cheese, which is basically the same, and you add milk to it, all of a sudden changing it to soy milk is...
Could we add like chocolate as well? Because of like milk chocolate and things like that.
Just a little bit, I wouldn't. Also, we're not sure that the chocolate here is dairy chocolate. It could be just dark chocolate or chocolate production. That it's probably dark chocolate. I wouldn't like guess like that. And it doesn't matter even, because with chocolate you don't interact the way you interact with soy curd. Oh, I keep saying soy curd. With dairy curd, like dairy cheese. Dairy cheese, you eat at least 200 grams a day or something like that. Chocolate, I hope you don't eat 2 whole tablets of chocolate every single day. If you do, please reduce it, because the environment suffers for it.
Okay.
Right. So I hope this is clear to you, Akhilesh. Right, that milk hides a lot of environmental impact in it. I would say probably in India it's like even worse, because you guys don't, the cows that milk, the cows and the buffaloes that are milked, they're not as genetically altered as the cows in the West, so they produce not as much milk. There are also like practices of giving a little bit of milk to the calves, not because people care about calves, but because calf drinking milk induces milk production, right? I would venture that dairy in India, like, actually is more environmentally degrading than the more efficient dairy in the West.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. Right. So, Akhilesh, since you care about suffering, I would hope that one day you would care about more than just suffering. Because I think, like, let's do this in a human context, right? I think if I kept children in my basement and the children weren't suffering that much, generally speaking, they had toys and drink and a good place to sleep in, and they generally weren't suffering, they were pretty happy. Me exploiting those children for whatever, I think would be still wrong, though they are not suffering. Because the exploitation itself, I view them as someone to exploit, and I don't consider their best interest because of that. So that's why vegans are vegan, because we think animals deserve to be considered for their best interest and not for what we want from them, right? But if you, at this point, if you care about suffering reduction, I think I've proven to you pretty vastly that ditching dairy for soy would reduce the suffering the most. And even though you don't have soy milk where you are, first of all, you can order it online. I promise you that wouldn't increase that much suffering. You can see on my charts that transport is a tiny, tiny percentage of food production. I think you should do that. I know people who live where there is no soy milk, so they just buy soy powder and make it into milk. I think that's the best environmental position, frankly. I don't have access to that. I wish I did. So I just stopped drinking milk altogether, like soy milk as well. Life is good without it.
Yeah, I think it I don't know why, but it's very hard to uncondition our mind.
Excuse me?
I don't know why, but yeah, it's very difficult to uncondition our mind.
Yeah, I know. It's one of the hardest things to do. But here's the thing, right? You have really, really strong feelings about suffering. I can feel it. I can see it. You also have very strong feelings about the environment. I can see it as well, right? Am I correct in my assumptions?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So all you have to do is give those strong feelings the place that they deserve in your life. And I promise you, in a couple of days, right, after trying really hard, those strong feelings are gonna win over you just having like a preference of how you live. And switching to life without milk is very easy. You just have to, like, for a week or so, you just have to look for what you can replace it with, or how you can eliminate it easier, right? That takes like a week of transitioning, maybe 2, maybe 3, and then you're done. And then the values that you hold the strongest are going to be satisfied.
Yeah, I will try, definitely.
I appreciate that.
So can I answer the question, Akhilesh? I think we had like a conversation yesterday. And I think, weren't you the guy who said that you have these rationalizations in your mind?
Yeah, well.
Yeah. Can I ask you one question? Is it hard for you to become a vegan because of, say, environmental issues that are still causing harm?
Yeah, actually, as yesterday I said, actually I try to justify my consumption of milk by thinking other direction of persecution of animal, like when we use everything, our technology and everything based on some kind of persecution. We did, and we will do if we consume technology and everything. That action cause environmental changes, and environmental changes cause suffering on animals, and some species got extinct for that reason.
So you mean like if we use cars and if we have like big fat, like manufacturers who emit like a lot of CO2, is this your concern as well?
Yeah, like in mining sector, you can see that mining sector cause a lot of
Let me tell you the difference, right? Now, obviously, the point about the let's say like the coal industry, right? Or in general, when it comes down to climate change harm, right? The issue is that there is like not a symmetrical relationship between that and animal exploitation. And let me explain why. Now, although someone could argue that we have maybe like a duty, right, to reduce our CO2 impact, let's say, right? I don't think that duty says that we have to eliminate it altogether, because as the way I see it is that with regards to climate change, right, it is conceivable that everyone can actually emit some amount of, let's say, CO2 that is still within the scope of, let's say, sustainability, quote unquote. But in terms of like animal consumption, right, there is like no threshold. The moment you purchase like one product, you will definitely contribute to animal exploitation. So me using a car, let's say, a few times per month, me using a transportation, me maybe even like going on vacation once a year, right? All else being equal, like if I still take care like in my daily life as much as I can, then that is not the same as me not being vegan, right? Because even if everyone does some environmental harm, but it's still within like the again, like certain thresholds, I don't think that is a problem, right? Because even scientists say that we don't have to reduce everything to zero. There are certain thresholds we have to keep. Unlike when it comes down to animal exploitation. Yeah, contributing to
sustainable development.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not like both are not the same actually. But if you consume animal products, then you know that will actually exploit animals. Definitely, you can't have it without it. Actually, if you want to consume, like, let's say, milk or eggs, yeah, you have to exploit definitionally animals. There is like no threshold.
Yeah, but actually, we acknowledging only the direct causes, but we don't acknowledge indirect.
What do you mean?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, we could reduce the suffering significantly, but the problem is vegans only try to reduce direct causes, not indirect.
Yeah, because this is not within our scope of control, right? I told you yesterday. Let's say again.
It's cause suffering.
Yeah, but again, this is not like that's not my responsibility. So again, if I give you the hypothetical of saving, let's say, a victim from 3 bullies, right? I save them because they're being bullied on the street, and one day later, the bully will shoot all 3 of his like, let's say, oppressors or like the perpetrators. Have I done something wrong?
No, actually, no. You have made this analogy yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. So we can't know all the ins and outs, right? We can try obviously our best, but we don't know. Maybe there will also be like some negative downstream consequence of everyone becoming vegan. Who knows, right? But we should still do the things that seem, especially on first sight, to be beneficial, right? Like, yeah, you can't eliminate harm. You can't even eliminate all harm, which is why we focus on animal exploitation, what we do with our own intentions and with our own deliberations, right? It's not about harm, it's about exploitation, right? And usually when you end exploitation, the side effect will also be like vast suffering reduction as well, right? But it's not the same. Because even if we have, like, let's say, windpipes, you know, it's still the case that some birds or animals will actually die as a consequence. But that is not a form of exploitation. That's an accident. Right?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. So there's like a difference between like something having unintended consequence and something being like intrinsically exploitative in nature. Right? That is the difference.
Yeah, but
because even if we use, like, let's say, actually, like, even if we use, like, let's say, cars, right? I mean, there are some unintended consequences that are definitely foreseeable, such as, like, car accidents. It happens every year, even every day, right? But these are unintended consequences. The general use of cars is to get from A to B and to get, like, things done. It's not to kill people, right?
Yeah, but I think everybody, for now, you can say everybody know the consequences of our consumption.
Yeah. If possible, we should reduce it as much as possible. You know, I think that's a good thing. You know, but harm is different to exploitation. Again, that's like where the distinction lies.
Yeah, but as a responsible person, suppose I know everything, how my action cause suffering or persecution on animals. So how I can justify my other action?
Yeah, because
like, I know my indirect action cause suffering.
I think we're running in circles, right? Because harm more broadly, especially indirect harm, is beyond your control. You can try to limit it, especially if it is, like, let's say, by way of purchases, but you can't have, like, full control over that. We're just running in circles, dude. That's it. If you can just, like, you're a human and you have limited responsibility. You're not responsible of everything, right? And
Yeah, of
we
course.
vegans,
Actually, we have
we are,
to.
and this is like a big straw man. Like this is a big misrepresentation that veganism is not a suffering reduction movement. Veganism is an anti-slavery, anti-exploitation movement, right? It has nothing to do with the elimination of suffering, although suffering is very important, of course, and it is a side effect.
Yeah, now I don't understand. You have like a limited area of history here.
Yeah. Okay.
Here's
So
the thing,
I think we
though,
should move on.
Like our position, the vegan position reduces suffering, but it's not about suffering. As I told you, even without suffering, the exploitation of sentient beings would be immoral. As I gave you an example, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But the problem is actually if we put like our collective effort, we could reduce those too.
Excuse me?
I said that if we put our collective effort as a human being, we could reduce every kind of suffering. It is possible.
Oh, I entirely agree with you. That's why I generally live as environmentally friendly as possible in my environment, you know, where I am.
Yeah, that's why I sometimes think how long we can survive being unconscious.
Well, you know, you can, you know, like a Westerner can reduce their environmental impact by 20% just by going plant-based. Your reduction is going to be even greater because your contribution is smaller. Naruto, can you mute, please?
Yeah, but
you're hot micing.
Naruto.
Naruto, you're hot micing.
Yeah.
Naruto, mute.
In part, you have a lot of like carbon emission and environmental factors.
Naruto. Hello.
Should I mute him? Should I mute him?
Kick him. You can kick him.
Yeah, kick him better.
Okay,
Yeah, kick him is better.
I just did. That's all right.
Yeah, perfect.
I just disconnected him.
Yeah.
Doesn't require ban. I don't know. I think they won't doing it on purpose. Sorry, Akhilesh. So here's the thing, right? Again, those are two separate things. I agree with you generally, but it's like kind of beside the point of what we're trying to talk about here. See you now. You're hot micing. See you. Sorry.
Yeah. So, and this is also the point, Akhilesh, that in terms of like practicability, veganism is much more, I would say, I would not say not realistic, because I think the harm approach, like the harm reduction or the suffering reduction approach is also pretty practicable, but it is less straightforward because there will always be, especially accidental harms, like crop deaths or again, accidents of all kinds, you know, so whenever you live, there will always be harm, but we can ensure while being vegan to perhaps even eliminate all forms of animal exploitation, right? That is something that we can do because this is human made, right? Accidents and everything indirect, this is, as I said before, and I say it again, it's like something beyond our control, right? And it can be done maybe, but incrementally. Exploitation, if you want to end animal exploitation for you, you can do it today already. You can do it today already. But animal harm, more broadly, you can just try to incrementally reduce, but you will never able to eliminate it altogether. Because again, accidents and everything indirect is not in your control. That is wherein the difference lies, basically. If that makes sense.
Also, like if you take reduction of suffering as like position to its extreme conclusion, it would cause you to, you know, KYS. I hope you understand what I'm saying. And
yeah, also like
it shouldn't cause
just
that.
to pile up, just to pile up on top of everything that everybody has already said. You know, if giving women rights would cause more suffering in the end, it doesn't mean we should not have given women rights. We should still always give women rights, right? So the suffering is a conclusion of a lot of different variables. We shouldn't just assume that, well, now there's more suffering, therefore we should exploit animals again, right? At the end of the day, we need to respect their rights first and then deal with the rest. Shall I start the event, by the way?
Yeah.
Start event.
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, hey VPM, I forgot to say hello.
Hey, hello. You said it. You
Hey,
said it in the chat, I
VPM.
just didn't. Hello. Hello.
Is it hot where you are, VPM? Because it's pretty hot where I am. Yeah, I've been not having a good time the past 3 days, but that's okay. That's okay. It will pass.
Every
Okay.
summer shall cool, and every winter shall warm.
Chris, I wrote it in the chat, but I should tell you as well, right? I should say it with my words in case you're listening. How things are how the tradition is in Virginia or whatever, you can't derive morality from that. Because if the tradition in Virginia was still, and, tell me if I'm wrong, to own slaves, that wouldn't make owning slaves moral, right? Used to be true in Virginia. In Virginia, you guys used to, not you specifically, but white people used to own black people, like literal human slaves. And, back then people said, well, that's how just things are. That's how we do it here in Virginia. That wouldn't make it moral, would it? So please consider the morality of your actions and not just the tradition of it. That's a literal fallacy. And I'm sorry, I can't read so many things that you wrote, so I can't address everything, but I hope people in the chat can.
Do you care about animals? Oh, you're still here, yeah. Hey, Ahmed. Amin Mohammed. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Do you care about animals?
They left.
Dropped off.
That's a shame. Chris, if you love an animal, why would you slaughter them? What do you think is worse? Giving animals drugs, which, by the way, is basic welfare if an animal is sick to give her drugs? Or slaughter them, literally slit their throat or shoot them in the face? Which one is worse? I think it's the latter and not the former that is actual, welfare.
And a cool description. So let's see, maybe people will join in.
How you doing, Chip?
Once I wake up a little. Oh, sorry.
Go on, Axel.
I was gonna say once I wake up a little bit, I'll put it on my stream too.
Nice. Yeah, so everybody, if you're not following VPM, follow VPM or subscribe to VPM. And if you're not subscribed to Axel, subscribe to Axel. I'll drop in the links later. When more people join, we need some people in here. I was supposed to go to the dentist tomorrow, but because of the heat, I'm like, I don't want to deal with heat and dentist. It's too much.
The dentist might be cool though, no? Like the dentist office.
I know they renovated. They started renovating it, so I'm not sure if they renovated it by adding air conditioning or what they did, but yeah.
Mm.
Hey Ken,
Okay.
Ken. Do you want to have a conversation with us? Or, drop off.
Yeah. What's up, Sophie? Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
Yeah, not too bad. It's a little warm. It's a little definitely my skin is definitely burning a little bit. But other than that, it's cool beans.
It is not outside because I just woke up.
Oh. Well, then take your time to wake up a little bit because I wanted to start a conversation, a deep conversation with you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm gonna hold off on that one. Look at me being considerate and shit.
Yeah. I always knew you were.
Big W for VPM.
Oh, I know. I'm trying to be like the bad wolf. But look at me.
You're trying to be the bad one, you said?
The bad wolf. Well, people think I'm evil. A lot of people think I'm evil. Because I pointed out in not a very nice tone that they're wrong.
VPM. We gotta start dressing you like a punk. Like get you a mohawk going.
Oh.
Jean jacket with some studs. To show that
Well,
bad
that's
energy.
in my youth. No longer attractive.
Hell yeah, you were a punk. Let's go.
Not really. Probably some kind of a poser.
Oh, okay.
Definitely had a mohawk once. Definitely had a leather jacket, not a jean jacket. Because I used to be a piece of shit.
I don't know if I ever had any leather thing other than shoes, but yeah, those are also not cool, so.
Yeah.
Let's see, BL. Do you want to have a conversation with us? Do you think you can care about animals? Wait, let me put it this way. Does everybody agree that if you care about animals, then you should be vegan? Okay, everybody agrees.
We're winning! We're winning.
I mean, we definitely are. We're clearly multiplying in numbers.
Yeah, I think 3 went vegan yesterday, so 2 went vegan the day before that, 3 the day before that. We're just like, the veganism is growing every day.
Hell yeah. I guess it'll take a little bit of time until more people join and want to have conversations. Yesterday there were people who were like just coming in hot, but today it's like a bit. Hey, Katron.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Yeah, playing games. I'm just here for listening, guys.
You're just here for listening. Do you want to have a conversation with us?
No. My English doesn't that good, sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think we should try anyways. I think you can try. I think this is very important, actually.
Yeah, Katron, do you want to try? It might be interesting. You might discover some things about yourself.
Yeah, there's a lot to lose if we don't speak.
I am really okay with that. I'm just here for listening, like taking some ideas from the people, like shaping my mind. So that's why I'm here.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody doesn't want to speak, we can't force them to speak to us, right? That's okay.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Oh, I got some people in my chat already saying that they care about animals, but they eat them too. How would that? How where's the logic in that, right?
Someone else wants to talk about veganism. Any inquiries, questions? Are vegans better?
Heck yeah.
You can only care about animals if you are vegan. Anything else would not be complete. Does everybody agree with that? Yet again, everybody's in agreement.
Hello. Yes. Goodbye.
Hi, Dionysos. Do you agree that you can only care about animals if you are vegan?
Yes.
Are
Yeah,
you
he's
vegan?
He's a he's a
Yes,
friend of mine. Yeah.
Oh, nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Damn, so many vegans here. Cool. Well, not damn. That's very good. Very good. Nice. Oh, I got somebody who says they were in Discord yesterday, and he's upset because he was silenced. Or I mean, they were upset because they were silenced. I don't really know
Well,
their
they
gender.
can come in now. We
Ah.
can maybe.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
have a conversation with them or something.
Come on, Baltimore, join the Discord now if you want to have a conversation. I mean, I don't remember muting anybody yesterday, but whatever.
I'm not scary. I'm tiny.
I also got somebody saying vegan is too illogical. Much practical, logical solution is to be Jain food.
Jane?
Jane, yeah.
Holy shit.
Is there a big difference between Jain and veganism? As far as I know, veganism respects animals, right? There's a stance against
Yeah.
exploitation. But what is Jain? Is Jain like a
Yeah,
religion, right? But
Yeah, it's more of a complete harm reduction approach, I think.
I think it's worse than that. I'm sorry to say. I think Jainism is like it's valuing life over valuing sentient life. So things like tubers are off the menu because you have to like rip out the bush. You're basically killing the plant, right? As opposed to like things like apples, that you don't kill the tree to get the apple, so they eat. The diet is very shit. And some Jains, like, they drink milk, so that makes absolutely zero sense.
oh wow,
yeah.
I think people who argue for Jane, only who say, yeah, you have to be Jain don't understand that veganism is mostly a deontological advocated position.
Hey, Kaiser. Do you want to have a conversation with us? Okay, dropped off.
Yes, scary.
I mean, I got a pretty friendly voice, am I not? My voice is like, hey, how are you?
Yeah, I'm joking.
Yeah, like the typical malnourished vegan.
By the way, whoever uses my site, I've published a new version. I like downsized it a little bit. So if you have like a specific page saved, go to a different page and look for it again. And I'm making the home page much easier to navigate, or like at least it's not going to be easier to navigate, but it's going to be prettier, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I can do like that.
That is a pretty good website that you made there with all the stuff. For I might take some of the information because I'm working on making a little thing to print out to carry with me when I go on the streets with studies and such.
Yeah.
So I might take that from you.
Go for it. I'm not just making it for myself.
Same.
Fallacies. Is anybody here who's like doesn't agree with veganism?
Hey Harvey, do you want to have a conversation with us?
No.
No? What do you think veganism is?
I said no.
No, if they don't want to
You
have
said
a
no.
conversation, that's not.
Yeah, it seems like nobody wants to converse with vegans. I guess because a lot of the times, there's nothing to say against veganism. That's the reality. Most of the times it's...
I have a question.
Sure, go on.
Okay, so yesterday I tried to be a vegan. So could you give me a tips or a menu for me? Because I just eat pumpkin, just a vegetable menu.
What do you think being vegan is?
Yeah.
Vegan is they don't eat meat, beef, chicken. Yeah.
Why do you think we do that?
Because you care about animals.
Yeah, so veganism is a principle, it's a moral principle of saying no to animal exploitation. Do you understand what that means?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, it essentially means we don't want animals to be used for us without their consent, which we cannot get, and therefore we don't want animals to be used for any purpose. That means food, clothing, entertainment, whatever. And you said yesterday you tried to adopt a plant-based diet, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, I'm ex-vegan. Officially ex-vegan.
I don't think you were vegan because, as I said, veganism is a moral principle. Did you adopt a moral principle or did you try to adopt a plant-based diet?
Yeah, because okay, let me explain to you. My religion, I have to sacrifice a cow at least once a week.
Why do you have to do that?
Yeah. So because I'm a Muslim, this a long time ago about our prophet.
Why do you have to do that? I don't know any Muslims who have to sacrifice a cow every week.
Not cow every week, but a sheep every.
But you can lamb, goat.
Why do you have to sacrifice them?
Okay, wait a minute. I will translate it. So this as a form of commemoration.
Bro, let me explain. Our duty is to slaughter maybe a sheep every year.
You mean for aid?
Yes.
Did you know that there are vegans that are also Muslims and who don't participate in that, and they merely sacrifice other things like their time, like they donate and other stuff? Wouldn't you say that would be preferable, knowing that an innocent animal gets exploited and slaughtered? Well, yeah.
But you need to do it. You need to sacrifice your time. You need to.
Okay. But wait, before we go there, let me ask you this. Does that morally justify your daily consumption of animal products?
Yeah.
Yes?
I said, what did you say?
Does the fact that you think you have to sacrifice an animal every year morally justify you oppressing animals every day?
Don't have an answer.
Yeah.
So if you say yes, how does it morally justify? How is it that you think it is right to take the life of an innocent animal today, knowing that you don't need to?
I'm back. I can have a conversation now.
1 second, Har, because we were having a conversation now with
Yeah,
somebody
of
else.
course. No problem. Yeah, no problem.
So,
Damn,
Tung
I don't-
Sahur.
I don't get it.
So the question is, how do you find it the right thing to do to take the life of an innocent animal for something that you do not need?
So, alright, so this mean Idul Adha. So we need to meet this to do the sacrifice.
Is that today?
Because not today. Just a month
So
ago.
how can you justify it today? How can you justify it today, tomorrow, next week, next month?
Yeah, we have in so in my religion we have a right way, our own way to kill animals. They don't feel things.
Yes, they do, first of all. And second, knowing that there is no need for it, how is that justified? Like, let me put it this way. Would you do all of this to a dog?
Yeah.
Yes?
No, I can eat dog. I can eat dog, cat, pork, and bat. But in other religion, you can eat them. They
So
have
wait a minute,
own.
because so let's go through this for a little bit, okay? So your religious book says that it's okay to exploit and kill these animals, correct?
Exploit, but they kill. We have the right way.
Sorry, can you
They both
stay on
exploit
track?
and
Can
kill
you
them.
actually answer Chip's questions and not go off and say something else? Can you track? Right, because Chip is
Can I
asking
weigh
you
in with,
very specific questions. Can you try
Can
to
I weigh in with
engage
my
him?
thoughts on this at all? He says that his religion specifies humane slaughter of animals, when actually it's quite the opposite. Halal introduces more suffering than non-suffering towards animals.
Yeah, that is true. Halal is actually worse for the animals, but it doesn't, like, this isn't this doesn't really matter, right? Because whether it's halal or not, it's still it's still cruel and unjust, correct?
Oh, I fully agree. Veganism, first and foremost, is a boycott of animal cruelty before it is a diet. I've been vegan
Yeah.
5 years, and like the amount of people that will come up and say, "Oh, well, you don't eat meat. That's not what makes me vegan. My love of animals does." A plant-based diet is secondary to like boycotting that cruelty.
Exactly.
And I feel like a lot of people overlook that element of veganism in favor of just a plant-based diet. Like my neighbor can't consume meat for a medical reason. Still eats eggs, right? Like it's not necessarily as cruel to animals, but there's still an element of animal cruelty, right? You're still treating a chicken like a vending machine if you're eating eggs, or a cow like a vending machine if you're eating eggs. When realistically, the amount of people that'll say, "Oh, I eat meat," and then in the next sentence, "Oh, I love dogs, I love cats, I love animals." You can't love animals and eat them at the same time. Like the two don't work.
Exactly. Okay, well, I think Harvey, did you want to have a conversation with us? I think it's easier to have a conversation.
I think you
with
asked me a question before. I don't know.
What was the question that you asked?
No, I think you asked me a question. You said, "What do you think
yeah,
veganism is," or something? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm assuming you're not vegan, Harvey?
Yes, I'm not.
What do you think veganism is, and why are you not vegan?
Veganism is the boycott of eating meat for the cause of not exploiting or oppressing animals, etc.
And
Am I
why are
correct?
you not vegan? So veganism is a moral principle where we reject animal exploitation, as you said, yes. And as a consequence of it, we don't eat meat, eggs, dairy, any products coming from animal products because behind them there was exploitation.
I see. Can I ask you, what do you mean by exploitation?
Unfair usage.
Such as?
Where exactly are you confused? Is there, like, for
I'm
example,
not sure
for
of the
dairy?
terminology, like exploit, etc.
So, as an example of animal exploitation for your diet would be a dairy cow is continually kept either pregnant or recently given birth to be able to sustain her dairy producing abilities. Natural chickens would have birthed an egg once every month, much like women would have, but due to genetic modification over time, they now produce almost daily eggs. Whilst not necessarily directly harming that animal, those are two, like versions of exploitation to sustain an otherwise not needed food economy.
I see.
Yeah. So in other words, what you can also use instead of the word exploitation is the saying, the philosophical saying, to use someone as a mere means to an end. Do you understand what this means? So you're using someone as a means or like an instrument. You're using them as a tool to get some goal. And usually that goal of yours is in general to get, let's say, pleasure. So using an animal as an object.
But you said someone. Is animal a someone?
Yeah. Yeah, we can debate. Yeah, we can.
That's according to you. Sure, no problem.
Yeah. Sorry for begging the question. We can actually debate this as well. Yeah, we can do this. Yeah.
But wait, before we go into all that, Harvey, why are you not vegan? Like, it's pretty clear that veganism essentially, like, no matter what words we actually use, veganism, it's kind of like this thing that is about animals, about leaving them alone, about giving them the respect and autonomy that they deserve. Why are you not vegan? Why don't you want to give animals the respect and autonomy that they deserve?
Being vegan or not being vegan is not like not giving them the respect they own. Those are two different things. You can have a respect for an animal all of his life, not beat him, not exploit him, give him the food he deserves, be good towards them. 1 second. Be good. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. Be good towards them, etc. But when it comes to slaughtering, you can slaughter them in the best way possible to reduce the harm, etc. And that.
What happened? Did
Oh,
Harvey
sorry,
just drop
that's
down?
my bad. That's my bad. I think somebody was hot micing and I ejected them. I'm so sorry.
Oh, yeah,
What was their
accidentally
name?
ejecting Harvey. Let me see if we can. Harvey.
Harvey. Sorry, come back. Sorry, come back. Oh shit! I thought they were hot micing. Yeah, I was trying to help.
No worries. It's okay.
Is it, I
Things
shouldn't
that's
have
okay,
this,
VPM. Don't
this
worry.
power.
Nah, it's okay. Things happen. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Let's see. I'm texting.
No, this is what the problem is. Oh, I'm so sorry. Fuck. Harvey, I'm so
Harvey, sorry.
I was trying to help. Somebody was hot micing, really like bothering you, and I was trying to eject, but I thought you were the one hot micing. I'm so sorry. Never happen again.
No problem. No problem.
So you were in the middle of saying something important.
Yeah, so you were saying, So you're saying that you can still love animals and kill them, right?
Yeah, in a sense, yes.
Let's start with, do you think we need to consume animal products?
Not necessarily, but I think it's not a problem.
Okay, so given that we do not need to consume animal products, don't you think that taking their life is inherently unfair?
Unfair.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Like imagine if somebody chose to take somebody's life. Like, isn't that not unfair towards that person?
I don't believe humans and animals are the same.
Doesn't really matter if humans and animals are the same. Well, the comparison that I'm drawing here is about the action, right? Because fairness
sure.
is about the action. If I'm being fair towards a person or unfair towards them,
Of course, you cannot take his life. That's a very bad thing. Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
So why would it be then towards an animal fair to take their life when we don't need to?
Because animals are not the same as humans. That's what I believe.
Okay, but even if they're
Sorry.
yeah, why does that matter? That's okay. Like, why does that matter? Because at the end of the day, fairness, whether to take their life or not, like they value their life just as much as you value your life, right? So it doesn't really matter if they're a different species, does it?
Kinda. If you have like someone who can use ration, logic, etc., use it, etc., to reach conclusions, and someone who cannot.
But Harvey,
Can you give me,
wouldn't
like-
you say there are?
can you-
Wouldn't you say that? One second, Val. Harvey, can you say that there are people on this planet who can also not have ration, like maybe intellectually challenged people? Don't you think that these individuals deserve the same respect for you to not use them and kill them?
Yes, they do.
So then, if you think about the distinction between them and animals, they, let's say cognitively, they would be quite similar. Why do they deserve?
Yeah, that's a good point.
that?
Yeah, correct. Good point.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, you know, like there is this thing we call name the trait, where we ask people what is the difference between a human being and an animal that justifies the difference in treatment. And it has to be morally relevant, right? That difference has to be morally relevant. So I could ask you this question, but essentially, like, at the end of the day, there is no difference. I'll ask you, do you think there is any difference between human beings and animals that justifies the difference in treatment? We've already gone through intelligence just now. Is there anything else?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a second. Is there anything else? I'm not sure. Wait a second. Let me think.
Because if it's just intelligence, then the difference between any human being and an intellectually challenged human being should be the same difference, and yet an intellectually challenged human being, you wouldn't treat them like you treat an animal.
I think using the intellectual argument's wrong anyway. That would be like saying it would be okay for America to annex the world because they've got the better military might. It's like, it wouldn't make it morally okay just because they could.
Yeah, like it doesn't really matter that you can, or that you have the power, or that you have intellectual superiority, or that you claim superiority in any way, because that does not mean you indeed have the right to oppress them, right? To be cruel to them, to exploit them, and all this stuff.
Yeah, because you presumably, if we stipulate the alien scenario, right, or like the supreme species scenario, where a supreme species comes to this world and actually does the same thing with the same arguments as we do to the animals, we would also try to oppose that, and we would also find this morally reprehensible. So might doesn't make right, morally speaking.
So then, hearing all of this, what do you think about veganism? Do you think it's something you should be?
Should be? Nah.
Yeah.
But
So
I
you
can say
don't
many
think you
things
should
right
be
now,
respecting
but
animals?
I'm just trying to listen, yeah.
You don't think you should be respecting? You don't think you should be giving animals the basic respect of leaving them alone and not taking their life away from them, or
Giving
not
them respect,
breeding them
sure.
into existence?
Taking life. Oh, sorry. Yes.
But wait a minute. So let's. Do you know that in animal agriculture, animals are brought into existence only to be killed?
What do you mean brought to existence just to be killed? Brought to existence by who? Like, what are you trying to say?
Like like on any specific farm that you can imagine, do you think animals multiply on their own, or do you think the farmers control that process?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
So
they might control the process. Yes, of course. You would have
They
farmers
do.
that control, etc. Farmers that exploit, farmers that don't give them the food they deserve or the treatment they deserve. Of course, yes, you can find
So
those
by
farmers.
definition, farming involves us controlling their breeding process, because we don't just wait around until they want to make a baby. Farmers control all of that. They control the breeding process, they control what they eat, and they control when they die. Well, not when they die, because they get killed. So just to put things into perspective a little bit also about this killing that you seem to have no problem with. Take, for instance, chickens, the chickens that we grow for meat. They can live up to 10 years. At what age do you think they're killed at?
I didn't know chickens lived to 10 years. That's crazy. I don't know, maybe a year, two.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
42 days.
Would they be grown at that time?
Yeah, so we selectively bred them to grow as fast as possible. And nowadays, they're starting to also grow insects, specific insects, to feed them so that they grow even faster and kill them even sooner.
I see.
Yeah, so in other
like
words,
every
you
few-
can actually see, you can also see that as a
Wow,
form of exploitation, right? Because we manipulate their future, existences. They will actually suffer as a consequence, and we won't respect their, again, we're basically seeing them only as objects, right? So we don't respect them at all. Because think about this, right? Does the farmer have any interest to create these individuals, or even to keep these animals, if they don't generate any profit? So let's say that there's like a new calf, and just let's say hypothetically, they can't produce any meat, like their body can't grow any muscle, any fat, nothing. They can't produce any milk, none of that, right? And let's also assume that the cow cannot even be killed. Let's just suppose. So you can't even slaughter it for their meat at all. Nothing. It's completely immune. Would actually the farmer care at all? What would the point be? So the whole point is basically to create more of these animals, to make profit. Really, that's it. That's the intention. So the entire intention is already greed. Basically, it's not respecting animals. It's not about respect, really.
Can they not be both? The intention of having profit plus respect, excluding killing from the respect. I know you guys killing
let
say
me
is disrespect, but I think not. So exclude it.
yeah,
Please.
Let me give you like a very forceful argument against this, because I hear this a lot, right? So although you can respect, so I will be very nuanced of what I'm saying. So I think you can respect parts of them at some parts in their life. However, at several points in their life, especially before you kill them, you rob them the greatest thing that they actually want to be respected for, and that is the interest to continued existence. And let me explain why. Now, obviously, it makes sense. If you kill them, you rob them of that interest. But every other interest that they have in their life, let's say seeing their families and friends, enjoying their life, having well-being, seeing the sun, everything else collapses if you take away their life, right? So I don't think that if you violate that interest, that you respect them.
But if you exclude the killing, for example, can you?
But Harvey, even if you exclude the killing, like imagine that. Do you think these animals are free?
Free in what sense? Are we even free ourselves?
No, Harvey. Are these animals free to the degree that they can do at least one thing that they want?
Elaborate. I don't understand what you're saying.
No, so what I'm trying to say
I can give an
that
example. If a cow doesn't want to be milked, does she get to not be milked?
I'm not sure. She's going to be milked anyway, isn't it? And how do you know, for example, if a cow doesn't want to be milked? I'm not sure. I think I want you to explain more.
But that's the whole point about it, isn't it? Because we cannot know what they want. But we do know that they have wants and needs.
Oh, I'm
that
sorry.
probably means we should not.
Chip, I'm gonna have to disagree with you. There is a study that tested if animals, specifically dairy cows, if they're given the choice, would they choose to be milked? And a lot of them, so if they were given the choice either to have a snack or be milked, all of them chose a snack. If they were given a choice to either be milked or not be milked, about 80% of them decided not to be milked. So they do have preferences, and we have evidence for it.
Yes, but we also humans
that's awesome.
are not free in that sense, if you want to say so. No one wants to pay tax. Of course, he's going to choose a snack over paying tax, but he's going to pay it anyways.
Whilst humans aren't necessarily fully free, they are still free compared to animals.
Sorry?
Yeah, I would argue that. So I would argue, Harvey, that these animals, again, like if you imagine the life of a dairy cow, for example, right? They're brought into existence. Let's start with this. Why do you think a dairy cow produces milk? I was trying to go somewhere there, but I think it's easier if we just start there. Why do you think a cow produces milk in the first place?
Produces milk, maybe to feed her like little children.
Exactly. So she has to have babies. So I think I've already asked you this before. So she does not get to decide when she has babies. The farmer decides for her. So what do you think happens when the babies are born? I'm sorry, I'm also a bit tired. So what do you think happens when the babies are born?
Babies are born. Now she can produce milk. She gives milk to the babies, etc. If you're asking about the farmer, he's going to take some milk.
So the first thing that happens is they separate them from their mothers, because if they keep them with their mothers, they would drink their milk. So that's the first thing that happens. Then, if the baby is born male, they don't produce milk. So what do you think happens to them?
I don't know.
They kill them.
Is that everybody though? Is it like
pretty
all
much?
the farmers?
They either grow them up to a year or two, or they sell them to somebody else. But eventually, yes, they all get killed. And if they're born female, they suffer the same fate as their mothers. Repeated impregnation year over year. Babies taken from her, exploited for milk, and at some point, they kill them.
Yes, that's wrong to kill males just because they can't produce milk. Yeah, that's wrong.
And at some point, they kill also the dairy cows, the females. Do you know when they kill them?
When they can't produce milk?
Well, pretty close. That's a good one. Well, they kill them when they can no longer get them pregnant. So they try to get them pregnant. The pregnancy didn't stick. So they kill them, because if they would have to keep them, they would have to keep them for another year, feed them, and it would be too expensive for them.
I'm a victim of vegan propaganda.
That's but like that's what specific farmers do, because it's not everybody. You cannot just generalize that on all farmers and therefore not eat any or like be a vegan because of this.
Harvey, I saw it in my grandmother's backyard. I come from Romania. My grandma only had one cow. How do you think she kept that one cow constantly producing milk? The cow was constantly impregnated. The baby was sold to somebody else. And at some point, I just all of a sudden would see meat. I saw the baby separation. I saw the forceful impregnation. I saw all of it. So if you actually think about it, if you've lived in a rural area and have seen this, everything that I just described is standard practice, and it happens 99.99% of the occasions. But either way, like, the reality is, animals in animal agriculture are a product. They're not even a product. They're a machine that creates a product. Do you really think it's fair to treat a sentient being, somebody who can feel, who has emotion, who has preferences, as a machine who can produce things like milk, eggs, and when they no longer produce, to kill them?
Preferences, sentient being, I'm not sure. Yeah, sorry.
You're not sure that they're sentient?
What do you mean by
this was the issue at the beginning, right? Yeah, this was an issue at the beginning. I think we should actually engage with this right now. because you thought they're not individuals, right?
Not someone as you referred to them as.
Yeah. So let me tell you this, right? Have you ever had any dogs?
Dogs? I've had cats, birds.
Yeah. So yeah, let's just take them, right? So let's suppose you return back to your home, right? Have you ever noticed that they both, let's say, can? I'm not saying that they did, but that they can respond differently the moment you, let's say, enter your home.
What do you mean?
Yeah, so what I'm saying is, let's suppose you have a cat or a dog. The moment you come back at home, right, or you do something with them, they will all react differently based on their unique experience, based on their unique personality and temperament, their past, you know. Some are more inquisitive, some are more shy or extroverted, some take more risks, some are more angry, right? So they have all their own experience and their own learning history, like we do. I'm not saying to the same extent, but they still are capable of responding, and they're also capable of learning, right? Like of conditioning,
yes.
the same way you.
For example, yeah, correct. For example,
Yeah.
if a cat has been abused in the past, you would be scared of people, yes.
Yeah, the same way humans also. Phobias, let me tell you, I studied this, right? So phobias in humans or anxieties, they're all based on conditioning. It's very simple. It's all very conservative learning. This is biology. We are also nothing special, really. You can't, with reason, you can't just snap out of your anxiety in most cases. You can't. So we are not, in that regard, we're not special, actually. And you can see deep in their eyes, there is someone behind them, right? It's not like it's something, right? They can actually, they can respond quite flexibly to their environment, right? And that is the purpose of being sentient, because the moment you are sentient, you are capable of experiencing pain and pleasure. And the moment you can actually experience these two things, it is the case to behave flexibly, because you have to understand your environment to some extent. And humans are excellent in this, but other animals are also pretty good in understanding their environment. Because again, evolution is actually about being fit to a given environment, right?
Sure.
And for sentient beings, it makes obviously sense to dodge harmful things and to approach beneficial things that aid, let's say, survival and whatever it is, like cooperation, getting food and resources, etc., etc. Right? It makes sense, because if you fail to do so, you will suffer, or you will feel pain, whatever. Yeah.
Yes.
So you have to have some form of intelligence. Yeah.
Yeah, but does that make them someone? Just like us?
Yes. Not
Yes.
just like
Because
us.
Yeah, yeah,
There's
yeah.
many differences, right? But it does make us a someone. It does make us an individual.
But he said not to the same extent.
Yeah,
I
sure.
don't disagree. Yes, they have emotions, etc. Yeah, sure.
Because
No problem.
because we may have like some other forms of cognition, let's say, right? But that doesn't nullify that they have like a subjective experience, right? That they care about themselves, about their surrounding, that they have intelligence, emotions, right? Preferences.
So a subjective experience, by the way, means that they're subjects of their own universe. It means that they feel when they walk around, when they experience life, they feel like how you feel when you experience life. You feel like you want to go that way and you go that way. You feel like you want to do this and you do this. I would say that's what makes somebody a someone. The fact that they have desires and the fact that they experience the world subjectively, right? That they're a subject in their own universe. And that, to me, gives them all the moral worth that any other individual who feels the same way should receive, regardless of their level of intelligence, regardless of their species.
I see.
Yeah, they're unique. They are unique. That's what I want to say. They're unique. Yeah, every individual will respond differently to a given situation. They will obviously sometimes also act the same, can be the case, but they have the capability in responding differently. Yes.
There is a question also. I think you guys hear a lot, etc. Of course, you're gonna have an answer for it, but what about plants? Do they not have some level of that, or no?
No, they can't definitionally.
Yeah.
So based on the
Never ever.
biology, sorry, can you not hot mic for a second? Thank you. So, plants on a cellular level can't be sentient even if they develop like a brain and a nervous system, but they also don't have a brain and a nervous system. And it seems to be that those are the things that you need to be sentient.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Hi. So, do you think everyone should be vegan?
If somebody else can take it, I have to go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, yeah. It's been lovely talking to you guys. Maybe we can, I don't know, keep going
Harvey,
later.
Harvey, come back, Harvey. We can have conversations. I think.
Yes.
I
Nice
think
talking to you guys. Yeah.
Same.
Yes.
Take care, Harvey.
Justin, do you want to have this conversation?
Yeah. So sorry, what was the question? Should everyone be vegan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what you think veganism is first? I think it's always a good place to start.
It's not using animal products.
That's definitely a behavior that vegans engage in. Veganism is sort of about being against exploitation, objectification, commodification, enslavement of animals. And so part of that is that vegans don't eat animals, but we also don't wear them. We don't go to zoos, things like that.
Okay.
So yeah, I do think that everyone should be against animal exploitation and commodification and objectification. Do you not think that?
I suppose I'm more interested in the paradigm. So when you say should, you're ascribing a moral, sort of a moral prescription for other people. But what basis are your morals founded on? Why should we do things or not do other things?
Well, let me ask you a sort of concrete question, just so I can kind of understand where your subjective morality lies. So, like, if you saw someone go up and like punch a dog in the head, would you think that that was wrong, or would you have any inclination to try to like stop that or something?
Yeah, I'd say it was wrong.
All right, why would you say it was wrong?
Well, because I believe that we've been given a moral standard by God, and therefore there's something universal outside of ourselves that prescribes right and wrong. So I believe that morals are objective and concrete, and they're not just simply preferences.
Okay, but say someone went up and like punched a rock, and someone went up and punched a dog. You would think one of those is wrong and the other isn't, I assume.
Sure.
So why do you think punching the dog is wrong, but punching the rock isn't wrong?
Because the dog has a temporal soul, it has a temperance, it can experience pain.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good reason. So, like, for instance, like what happens on farms? Like, for instance, like, do you eat pigs or any part of pigs?
Yeah, I eat all animals.
Sure. So can you tell me, like, walk me through what you think happens, like from the time a pig is a baby to the time that bacon is on your plate? What do you think happens to that pig?
Well, I mean, it doesn't really matter because humans
No,
are.
it does matter. It does matter. I think we need to establish that first. So just so I know what you know about the process, that's important to me.
Okay, but maybe we should. I'm interested in your paradigm first. I'm interested in
No,
why.
I'm interested in this first. I want to establish this first, and we'll get to that.
Okay, well, just walk me through the process. They're bred to be killed or butchered. They're kept in less than optimal conditions. That's my understanding.
Yeah, less than optimal is a pretty pretty benign way to put it, I would say. But yeah, you hit on something that people don't really think about to begin with, though, is that they are actually bred. So it's not that we're finding pigs in the wild and just taking them in, right? We are forcibly bringing them into existence. And a lot of times that involves some pretty like gnarly stuff. Like we are like, in some way collecting that semen. A human is often doing that. Or we have them basically like hump this doll to collect their semen. And then we will actually like take a rod and insert semen into the female to get her pregnant. And sometimes they'll even be like rubbing the female's haunches and things like that to like get her in the mood. And so that's before they even get to the farm, you know, that's before we're even like farming them or like specifically like mutilating their body in some way, right? So that's just the breeding them into existence. Then when they're babies, we'll typically cut off their tails and we'll cut out their teeth. And do you know why we might do that?
Stop them killing each other, I assume.
Right, because they'll like bite
Or
each other.
eating
They'll
each
bite each other's tails off. And do you know why they would bite each other's tails off?
Yeah. Because they're hungry.
It's more because they're in such tight proximity to each other. So we create the problem by putting them in tight proximity, and then to solve it, we sort of chop their tails off, chop their teeth out. Also, most of the time when they're babies, and this even occurs on very small local farms, we actually will basically put a slit in their scrotum, then rip their testicles out. And do you know why we do that?
Yes, they don't reproduce unless it is artificially inseminated.
Sorry, what's that?
So they don't. You said the testicles, right? Like they'll be neutered.
Yes.
Yes. It's so they don't reproduce without artificial insemination.
No, not really. That's not
Yes.
the reason. No, the
Well,
reason is that
that's
it's-
part of the reason.
Yeah, meat
But the
tastes
other
bad.
part is the taste.
Yeah.
So it has something called boar taint, which will make them taste very bad. And then, do you know how we typically kill them?
No.
That I'm unsure about.
Generally, we would put them into gas chambers. So where they basically suffocate, and it's really brutal to watch. I'll tell you. So that stuns them, and technically we kill them after that. Typically, we hang them up by their legs and slash their throats open.
Sure,
So-
but I'm asking why.
Sure.
is
You,
this
now you
wrong?
said earlier, does that sound worse than punching a dog in the head?
Yes.
Okay, and you said punching a dog in the head was wrong. So it
Yes.
sounds like you think what we do to pigs is wrong.
Yes.
So I guess my question is, why do you still eat pigs? Obviously, you just found that out, but you see what I'm saying?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I know that I didn't know that much detail, but obviously, I'm aware that farming is a bit cruel.
Mhm.
But then I suppose it comes down to the value judgment of what is an animal's life worth compared to mine. And if eating animals is permissible, then I'm going to do it because our
So,
lives are worth more.
Johnny,
So-
you said, what is an animal life worth to yours? I've been on a plant-based diet now for about 6 years, and I can promise you my health isn't affected for it. Like, my life isn't suffering for not eating animals, right? Like, your
Sure, but-
question almost feels a bit moot.
False dichotomy.
No, it's not. It's I'm trying to drill down into. I want to know about the morals and the ethics behind veganism. So, obviously, these things are heinous to hear, but I'm asking, why should we be vegan? Why is an animal suffering wrong? If morals are
just to weigh in,
subjective, then it doesn't.
If it's about what makes me want to be vegan more than not vegan, right? So put it down to its core values. Let's take away the animals for a second. I'm going to be careful because I know a couple of people are streaming on YouTube. In the 30s in Europe, there was a particular political party. It kicked off a chain of events that led to about 85 million people in total dying. We consider that the biggest human fatality system to have existed. For
can
context,
name it.
80 billion land animals per year are killed and trillions of fish. Just to put in people that otherwise could just eat something different.
But we need protein, my friend. Protein, okay?
I'm not lacking in protein. I can promise you I could probably bench lift twice as much as
Yeah.
most.
I'm like the most
Australians.
fit among all my friends, vegan or non-vegan.
Yeah, if I may, I got a question for him too. Like this is from I'm not part of I'm part of the channel, being just a member. But I think one of the main points for me is why it matters is because of violence, communication. When you've got a food system that's so baked in, so heinous, so cruel, so brutal, so devaluing of life itself, that echoes through all of society. that lack of just basic humanity or respect for life. And you see this in the way people treat each other. There's a lot of violence in the world, and that would go way down, almost to nothing, if you had non-violent communication with animals and plant life also.
Sure,
Yeah,
but I suppose
I think
I'm
another
looking
thing.
at it from the point of view of why is violence wrong and why is life valuable? You're making value judgments, but you don't have anything to reinforce.
I think the thing is that like you've already that's within your value system. So I'm kind of like the broader question of like why it matters seems less relevant to me because it already seems to matter to you. Like you already said like something even as simple as punching a dog is wrong. And so to me, I'm wondering like why is this broader question important to you? If punching a dog is wrong and everything we described about what happens to a pig is wrong, then why not from you personally, for your subjective morals, would you not stop that?
Well, my morals aren't subjective. I believe in objective morality. But I'm wondering about the vegan worldview. What justification can it give for ethics? Why should anyone care about what happens to animals?
I think it boils down to like vegans have different philosophies within themselves, but they value the animal's suffering more than the 15-minute taste pleasure you might get from it, right?
Sure. So it's all subjective. So morals are based on preferences.
Well, not that. I'm saying that vegans have their own different philosophies, right? Sometimes you'll get Christian vegans, sometimes you'll get. The point is, like, they all like recognize suffering, right? You recognize for objective morality reasons that just like punching a dog is wrong, the stuff that happens to a pig is horrible as well. And we now live in a day and age where we don't have to do that anymore. And vegans have come to the choice like, well, if we don't have to do this anymore, why do we still pay to do it? And they've taken the choice not to do anymore.
Because it's tasty.
If you're looking for a
Yeah,
subjective reason to be vegan, Johnny, 14.5% of greenhouse emissions globally come from the food agricultural industry, which equates to roughly the same as the entire global transport sector. So if you're looking for a subjective reason to do it, like future generations, like the health of the planet, the survival of our species can all be attributed to the reduction of global warming, which is close to 15% of.
I mean, you don't
I think that's a good point. Because you kind of asked earlier, like, why my life over an animal's? But they're both like intimately linked. Like, not killing the animal actually also helps human survival. So, like, there was a study I believe is in 2021, and I can find it if you want. But it was in 2020, and basically they said if you stopped all fossil fuel production right now, and that was in 2020, right? So we're talking 5 years ago, and you continued business as usual with agriculture, we would blow past our 1.5 degree target and possibly even shoot past the 2 degree target set by the Paris Agreement. So like, that's just how consequential animal agriculture is to things like global warming, climate change. And so even if you didn't give a shit about animals, you know what I mean? If you cared about human survival in some way, this is going to be like, like not even like an important piece of the puzzle, a critical piece of the puzzle.
But can I ask you something, Johnny? I'm curious. You said you don't would you kill a dog for an optional product?
Would I kill a dog for what, sorry?
Yes.
For an optional product.
For an optional product. Can you expand on that?
Sure. So let's imagine that I'm a boxer and I need to get my workout in. And the best way to get my workout in is to, punch a body, an actual body. And I'm a dog breeder. So what I do is I bring to life dogs. I give them a good 2 months of living. Then I kill them. I use them as a punching bag for as long as I can. And yeah, in the end I also eat them so that I don't waste their body.
Comparison is so useless.
Is that moral to you?
It's not moral, but in your worldview, it's not wrong.
Wait a minute. So why is that not moral to you?
Because we shouldn't inflict pain on unnecessary pain on.
Dude, that's
on
so
other
stupid question. You just
One
uh,
joker, can you
it's so
please wait? One joker, can you
no,
please wait?
no.
I'm going to have to mute you
Because
if you
that
don't wait.
question was so stupid. I have to talk.
No, I will
Yeah,
have to
you can
mute you
leave,
if you
Jess.
don't wait.
You can just leave if you think the questions are so stupid that you can't wait and you interrupt the conversation.
Yeah.
You can just leave
Why
and
are
come back.
why are you so mad now? Why are you so mad?
I'm just gonna
Can you please
kick
wait?
you if you
To
don't
stop
mind.
interrupting conversations.
That's fine,
Okay.
Chief. I just disconnected them. That's all right.
Thank you. So, Johnny, why is that bad? Can you please answer that? Because we were interrupted. I'm sorry. Johnny, are you still here?
Oh yeah, sorry, I was muted. Yeah, no problem. I think when creatures are born and when they proliferate, they have a certain sentience. They have a consciousness and they can feel pain. And I don't think it's, well, within the Christian moral worldview, you shouldn't inflict unnecessary pain. So it would be wrong.
That statement in of itself is a vegan statement. If that's your genuine belief that you shouldn't be inflicting pain on animals, there's no good reason you shouldn't just be eating plants.
Yeah. So as ASN says, then that statement, if you say that statement, then I'm just using simple logic, and I would understand that by your statement, you should not be doing the same to cows, shouldn't you?
There are caveats to that. I think that in my worldview, it's not forbidden to kill an animal. So, for example, in the Old Testament, animal sacrifices were the means for covering your sin. And then we see Christ at the Passover. They used to eat lamb at the Passover, and fish. So it's not as easy as saying, "Oh, we should never kill animals or eat them." I just think that you shouldn't take it to an egregious.
Oh, wait a
sort of
minute,
point.
Johnny. So okay. So Johnny, it has been revealed to me with what you said just now that you're a Christian and you follow the Bible. I'm pretty sure that you follow the Bible and take every lesson that it is in the Bible within its own context, correct?
I take it within the context of the Orthodox Church, so I don't take my own interpretation.
Sure,
The
but
church.
within the context of the story that it is in, right? Like there's several stories in the Bible that would raise a lot of questions, but most Christians I speak to, they say that, well, if you take it into the context that it is in, it makes sense. Do you agree with that? That what is written in the Bible should be taken with the context of the stories of that time?
Sure, yeah, context is important.
If the Bible
Sure.
is important, Johnny,
ASN, one
Genesis
second.
20
ASN, 1 second.
Sorry.
Let me finish 1 second. You can go down afterwards. So if the context is important, then shouldn't the context be important also for all these stories of consuming animals? Because the context is that in the past we may have needed to consume animal products, whereas nowadays we don't. So the context today is that we can survive and thrive on a plant-based diet. We have every resource needed, and it's better, as you've been told so far, for everyone if we don't do it. So I'm almost certain, without a shadow of a doubt, that should there be another prophet or another, I don't know, Jesus coming or whatever, if they were to be coming back again, they would, and not end Earth, because I know that the whole point is that if they come back again is ending Earth. But should they come back again and not end Earth, they would definitely make the stipulation that we should stop consuming animal products because we don't need to. Because even you, Johnny, I would say a compassionate and benevolent God would want you to not be violent or oppressive towards an innocent animal if there is no need for it, correct?
Yeah, I suppose so. But again, it's not objectively immoral to kill an animal. We've been given dominion.
But
we have a certain unique, so it's up to us really. But I do see your point.
So there is an even stronger point to all of this, because while I agree with you that Well, I'm not a Christian. I don't believe in any God or anything. I'm an atheist. But if you believe that morality has been given by God to you, then I think you also believe that your feelings, the way you think, the way you feel about things has also been given by God to you. And I think that if you were to even see what animals go through, as it's been described also by Justin just now, I think your feeling, your body would say that is wrong. Regardless if the Bible says it is right or wrong, you would still think that it is wrong. So while there could be mistakes in the Bible, you know, it's after all, it's been printed by humans, it's been distributed by humans, it's been translated by humans. I don't think there can be any mistake in your DNA writing, right? As in, if you feel that is wrong, maybe that is what it is actually. Why would you listen? Like, you have a higher likelihood of being wrong from that book, especially given the context, versus being wrong from what your instinct tells you, right? So you're right now faced with two things. One, the context, and two, your instinct telling you it is wrong. Why would you ever listen to anything else other than these two, given that both of them were given to you by your God?
I think that the heart can be deceptive. So as humans, we get things wrong. So I think another gentleman brought up the example of what happened in the 1930s, for example. If you're indoctrinated enough, you might have been at those parades in the mid-30s, and your heart and your conscience might have been telling you that it was right.
Right.
So I do see your point. You can't entirely just lean on your own understanding and get to the right thing, because you're infallible. You're susceptible to mistakes. But again, it's interesting that you admit that you're an atheist, which is completely fine. But this is my point. We're bringing up things about emissions, and we're bringing up survival of the human species and proliferation of the human species. Why should we want the human species or any species to survive? Why is that a good thing?
I think something about your questions is that, like, these almost seem like questions not for vegans. Like they can, like, we're in the broad rubric of it's like vegans would fall under this, but like asking like why subjective morals over your objective morals. Like, you could ask this of pretty much any subjective prescription. You know what I mean? And like why not like kill the whole human race is, or why should the human race continue? Or like, I guess these are just kind of like broader questions that to me kind of fall outside the scope of veganism. I guess why come? I guess what I'm curious is why come on to a vegan debate and ask those questions. I'm not saying that you can ask those questions, but I'm curious, like, what drew you into like specifically a vegan channel? Have you been thinking about animals? Did you see a video or something? Like,
I literally just saw this live stream pop up,
nice.
and I thought I'd join. But I suppose my point is veganism is a worldview, and you have to test the worldview to see if it's coherent. So if someone can't justify the moral claims they're making, then their worldview is incoherent.
Yeah, I think it's right. I sorry, go Chip.
No, I was just gonna say, well, pretty much, just to be clear, as Justin pointed out at the beginning, every vegan has a different place where they get their morals from, but every vegan is morally consistent with their values, right? Like, if we say murder is wrong, we apply it to the extent that murder is wrong. We don't just stop at the species line and say murder is wrong unless you were born a different species, which is just something genetic that is different from you. If we say exploitation is wrong, we don't just say unless you were born, yet again, a different species or a different race or whatever, right? Like, we essentially say the reason why we bank on sentience is because it is the bare minimum of somebody sentience essentially is the capability to suffer. So it is the bare minimum where we can apply morality onto somebody, right? So we're just taking any moral value that you have, for example, Johnny, like how you treat people, and we extend it to animals also, because in reality, the things that make us human are the same things that make the animals worthy. Like take, for instance, the emotions, as you said, the personalities, the fact that they love, the fact that they feel, the fact that they want to they want to have bonds with others. The fact, all of these things that describe our humanity are coincidentally things that are common within sentient individuals. So it only makes sense then that we, extend all of these considerations to them also.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You extend the same courtesy that you extend to humans, and you bring that same value of life and philosophy through. But then I suppose there's no grounding for that, and I'll expand. In a universe that's cold and empty, and everything comes about by random processes, murder isn't wrong. I mean, the aliens could turn up right now and destroy this whole planet, and we couldn't say it's morally wrong. It's not objectively wrong.
Sorry, why would you say that? Like, if you have the preferences to not be killed, it's totally on your subjective experience. It's totally logical to extrapolate that to other sentient beings. Why would you need objective morality to think that murder is wrong?
Well, because in the atheist worldview, you can't account for ethics or logic.
Why
for
not?
example.
Why the fuck not?
Logic.
What are you saying?
You
So,
can't
Johnny,
I'll
you've
expand.
used the Bible as a reference a few times. Would you say
Yeah.
that the marriage of a 12 to 14-year-old child's okay? Because the Bible references that at least 6 or 7
This is
times.
kind of changing the subject.
Wait, yeah, I think this conversation is going out of veganism and into objective morality, which is fair and interesting, but maybe we should move on to a different person.
I think that's kind of what I was getting at earlier, is that it's kind of like a bit off topic for veganism. Johnny, what I would recommend though is again, it sounds like you care about animals, you care about what happens to them. So again, whatever our worldview is, and again, like people have said, there's vegans who are subjectivists, there's vegans who are moral realists, there's vegans with all sorts of different meta ethics, normative ethics, and things like that. But it sounds like you do care about animals. And something I would say is to just watch some videos of what happens to animals. You talked about earlier how the heart can be deceiving and about how people can get, indoctrinated. And I would just say that the indoctrination is very, very, very heavily weighted towards indoctrination towards exploiting and eating animals. I mean, you can't go 5 minutes without seeing a billboard with some murdered animals on it or commercials with murdered animals. And pretty much you were probably raised to just eat animals like 3 times a day. So I think that is true that indoctrination is strong, but I would just recognize that indoctrination is heavily weighted towards a bias towards exploiting animals. So what I would really recommend is just watch some videos of what happens to animals. You can watch, there's a movie called Dominion. It's like 2 hours. You could watch like 15 minutes of it or something. And just kind of see what it is that you're supporting and see if that does actually align with your morals. See if you think it is consistent with what you think is the right way to navigate the world.
Thank you. I will. And just to close, this worldview needs to be examined. If I see someone that says you should do something, they're giving me a moral ought. And if they can't account for moral oughts, then that's an incoherent worldview. You could argue that people who eat meat are, let's say, distasteful, but you need to find a reason why morals exist outside personal preferences before you tell people what they should do.
Why?
Well,
Why do
because
you
you
need
make
it outside preferences? Why can't you find that internally?
You could critique someone else's worldview and say, like, you're inconsistent, whether I may have objective morality or not. By your own standards, you should change.
Well, my point is that there are 8 billion of us on this planet. If you appeal to preference, let's say 5.
That's not what I said.
But I'm responding to what the lady there said about why we can't just rely on preferences, and I'll get to you after.
Sure.
If we can't rely on preference because
Why not?
preference is something.
Why not?
I'm explaining. Preference is a subjective thing. So in Germany in 1933, when we're using this example, the preference of most people in that nation would be X, Y, and Z. We can all look at that and go, that's not right. But the preference, the consensus in that nation cannot be the arbiter of what is right and wrong, because we can agree that genocide and everything that happened is wrong. So we cannot use preference as the
Genocide
yardstick.
happens whether morality is objective or subjective. So I don't know why you would say that. Like Christians made genocide many times throughout history. So like if your morality is subjective, that doesn't exclude genocide. And if your morality is objective, that doesn't exclude genocide from God themselves as well, right? God genocided people. And if your morality is subjective, you can have the preference. You can be confused about it, right? You can have the preference to not be killed for at all, right? But not apply that to other people. So you can be confused on it, but you don't need like external morality to say, well, I have a preference, a very strong preference to live and not be exploited. I would not want to be exploited. Therefore, I shouldn't exploit other people or other animals.
Sure, but
I don't know why I need God or other creatures telling me that it's objectively wrong to kill, especially since that creature kills themselves and like creates genocide themselves, right? They sent the Israelites to kill Sodomites, genocide them. Every child, every woman, every animal is genocided. So how even can you claim that it's objectively wrong to kill when the creature that gives you that command kills themselves?
So I'm not saying
Again, a bit off
that
topic here.
you need to believe in God to have the moral standard. My point is that you need something that's universal,
why
outside of us.
Wait,
So Johnny,
I want to
Yeah,
jump
I
in
wa-
because this is going to be a derail,
Go
a
on.
huge derail. Look, if you want to look into like veganism, I would even suggest you asking Christian vegans why they're vegan. If you're digging really deep into these kind of questions, and I would also recommend like a documentary called Christspiracy if you really like are interested in these kind of like conversations. But for now, like it would be preferable if this conversation was mostly about just the ethics of animals rather than philosophy.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
but-
and to put Johnny, to explain what we mean, because I understand your point. You're saying that we need to have a basis in morality, but what we're saying, all of us are saying here, is that regardless of your basis in morality, you are most likely logically inconsistent with your own values if you are not vegan. Like take for instance, regardless of where you get your morality from, you say it is wrong to kill dogs, yet it is right to kill cows. That is a morally inconsistent worldview unless you account for certain exceptions in your worldview, like saying, well, except for this and except for that. And those exceptions would need to be logically founded and have some moral grounding in them. And if they don't, then you would yet again tend to be logically inconsistent. So it doesn't really matter where our morals come from. As long as you think killing is wrong, then killing animals should follow, because there is no difference between human beings and animals that would justify the difference in treatment.
Sure. I suppose I'm just trying to examine your presuppositions and, the grounding for your worldview, because I haven't heard anything concrete.
We're going in
Just look
circles
for
now.
look for vegan Christians. Sometimes you'll find them on this Discord, sometimes not. But yeah, well, let's just move on to someone else because there's so many people.
Yeah, thanks for talking to us, Johnny.
Yeah, thanks, Johnny.
I appreciate it. Before I go, I'll just say that does anyone believe in objective morality? Can anyone tell me why it's wrong to kill an animal?
Go to philosophy VC. Go to a philosophy.
Yeah, if you want to chat, just DM me and I'll give you moral grounding for veganism. Okay, just give me a chat.
Yeah, sorry, who's speaking? Can you put a message in the chat and I'll message you?
Yeah, Twisted. Yeah,
Just message each other. Just Twisted your message them. But anyway,
I'll give some moral grounding.
And just I don't know if you're in YouTube and Discord. There's links to Dominion in there, which is essentially what we do to animals. So, like I said,
and maybe
give that
a
watch.
Christspiracy, and maybe this one, Christspiracy, that Felek put. If you're Christian, you might enjoy it. It's a pretty interesting documentary. This one.
Yeah, I also tagged you in like my personal argument from Christianity for why being vegan. If you don't find like the secular argument, maybe you find the Christian argument compelling.
Thank you. And I'll link you to maybe a transcendental argument or something like that. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
Meta is just
Arafat.
fuck. Who gives a shit? Sorry.
Arafat, do you want to have a conversation with us? Because I see you typing in the chat that we ignore some parts of veganism or of farming.
Yeah, I just want to make a sort of broad statement about this. Whenever someone goes to meta ethics, it just always strikes me as such obvious intellectualization. And for people who don't know what that is, intellectualization is something where you get like super technical and very, very cognitive as a way of avoiding grappling with something that is emotionally difficult. And I'm not saying that metaethics isn't important or that we shouldn't talk about it or ground it, but just 99% of the time, these people will raise this metaethical objection that they wouldn't raise in any other context with any other sort of like prescriptive statement. And so just for listeners, that's basically what I think is happening here most of the time.
You did a Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think there could have been a simpler point to be made with about meta as ethics. If I could quickly make that point, which is basically that as a society we got here because we realized we don't want to be treated like, let's say, Jews during the Holocaust or whatever injustice. So we established rules that are fine with us if they're applied to ourselves, that we apply to others. So based on that, that's why we say you have to be logically consistent, because you would have to deny those established rules and therefore be a bad person considered in society by society to discriminate animals. So yes, you can be consistent in a negative way, but then you're simply a bad person. You're simply anti-humans, and you would not be tolerated in the society. That's why it's easy to press for consistency, because most people believe and want to believe in human rights for the sake even of just themselves.
Okay.
Well said.
It's called social proofing.
That's why we don't need objectivity. It's all subjective at the end. Otherwise, it would just be complete chaos.
It's also objective. Is that an objective statement?
No.
We're not getting into this.
I'm just saying it comes from ourselves and we project it onto others, and animals are others.
Oh, we got a
Well,
lot
do we
of
have, do we have any other non-vegans here who have any questions or want to?
We prioritize people who can VC, but we can also address any side channel questions if it's really quiet.
Yeah. By the way, what's up,
Does
Justin?
anyone want to?
Sorry.
So what was that? Sorry, I thought I heard my name.
What's up? I just said what's up. It's VPM.
Oh, hey, how's it going?
All right.
Can people hear me through both headphones now?
I hear you through both, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I fixed it. I saw what I was doing wrong. It's been a while. I'm a little rusty with all the technical stuff, but
I mean, your arguments are still unrusted.
One-sided.
Masterclass, frankly. That's what I wrote in my chat.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Anybody wants to get Justin?
Yeah, so does everybody agree that the only way to truly care about animals is to be vegan? Okay, everybody agrees.
It's amazing.
We got the next.
Job's done, guys.
Pack out, boys. We got them.
Wait, what did you say?
Do you agree that the only way to truly respect animals is to be vegan?
Not really.
Okay, what do you think being vegan is?
So, probably like Greek yogurt, plants, spinach, simple stuff.
What?
Sure. So what you're mentioning there are some foods that I mean, Greek yogurt is mostly dairy, so that it would not be a plant-based food, but that's okay. We eat plant-based food indeed. Do you know why we eat plant-based food?
Oh, no, sorry. All right. So, Hold on.
So my question was, do you know why we eat plant-based food?
Help me.
You keep muting yourself.
He's trying to hold back the laughter.
Okay, sorry. Okay,
So-
so no,
He's,
I'm not
holding
trolling.
in. He's holding in the bacon though.
Sensei, wait
Alright.
1 second, Silver. Let's have a conversation
All right,
with
so
them.
what were you gonna say again? I'm sorry.
So I ask you, why do you think we don't consume any animal products?
Probably because how you would watch like how they would process the food, how they would kill the piggy, all that, maybe that's why, because it probably makes you sad and stuff, and how you see other people breeding dogs, overbreeding them, especially being cruel to them. Yeah.
Do you think
that's
it's yeah, do you think it's okay to be cruel to animals?
No.
No, it's not okay. Do you think that behind animal products there is inherent cruelty?
Whoa, tricky one. Whoa. Is it? There's like, I don't know how to explain this. I mean, I do eat meat, but
Can you detach
They-
yourself a little bit? So in this conversation that we're about to have, can you detach yourself a little bit from your preference or what you want? And let's just talk about animals a little bit, and then we'll get to your preference and what you want, okay?
all right.
Okay, so now in the context of animals, do you think that bringing them to life only to use them and then kill them, is that cruel?
Well, so all right. So like it I'm struggling bad. Okay. So like making life like with life, like for example, a pig and stuff, and you have a whole army of them in a farm. So like how I would say is that if I were a farmer, I would probably, make sure that the pigs are good, because I heard somebody said in the comments on YouTube, like how the animals will follow them around before, like, killing them and stuff. Well, which
But
I know you guys.
you did not answer my question. So do you think bringing somebody to life only to use them and kill them when you can no longer use them, is that fair? Is that nice? Is that cruel to you?
Fine. All right. No.
So it's cruel, or no to what? Sorry.
No. I don't think it would be cruel for me. But for you, yes, it would be cruel for you.
Wait. So then let me ask you this. Do you think bringing a dog to life for me to use them as a punching bag after I kill them and then eat them is not cruel?
Well, it's cruel. I mean, well, dogs are not supposed to be eaten, especially cats, because they're household pets. So no. But other animals, yes, you can kill them, as long as you're not, like cruel, like yes, you can literally sacrifice animals just for the sake of food, because we need food if we want that nutrients, if we want to,
Can they rape animals?
What?
So 1 second. Draw. I ask you to please separate what you want from this. Please separate this, and let's think about a little bit about the animals, okay?
Okay, sir.
So yet again, is it okay to bring to life any animal, and I mean any animal who can feel, who can think, who has preferences, and who has a subjective experience of the world? Is it okay to bring them to life only so that you can use them for whatever you want to use them, and when you can no longer use them, kill them? Is that okay?
Yes.
Yes. So then it should be okay to do to dogs, to humans. All of these are also animals.
No.
Why not?
No, not the dogs. Not the dogs.
Why not the dogs?
Why not?
I have a question, a very, very, very important one.
Kaiser, please wait your turn. No, you have to
Wait
wait.
your turn.
Please mute yourself and wait.
Jesus Christ.
Okay. Draw, continue. Why is it only cruel if you do it to dogs?
because because all right, so well, how I'm shaking up.
Okay, let me ask you this, Draw. Maybe it will make it easier. Do you think we should judge an action if it's cruel or not based on the perception of the person doing the action, or based on the perception of the person suffering from the action? Like in the situation where I want to do everything I mentioned to an animal, do you think we should judge whether this action is cruel or not based on my perception of the action, or based on the perception of the animal of the action?
Like what you're trying to say is that we should judge the person that is being cruel to the dog, or judge the dog?
Exactly.
What?
So which one should we do? Which one should we judge?
The one being cruel to the dog.
So when I say judge, okay, let me even be clear, because my English is not my primary language. So I'm saying judge. Do you think we should care about what the dog feels, or what the person who wants to do that to the dog?
Oh, we should okay, fine. We should care for the dog.
We should care for the dog. So then if we do the same thing to a different animal, like say a pig, why is it that in that situation we should still not care about the pig?
Well, as how I would say it, I don't know. I don't know what to care for anymore, because at the moment it's just going to be killed anyways.
I'm not, no, this pig is
Wait,
not going to be killed
sorry.
anyways. I'm just asking you, like, again, detach yourself from what we do to animals, detach yourself from what you know of
Yes,
animals, and try to think a little bit in the cold. Yeah, so like I know you have an emotional reaction to dogs, and you don't have an emotional reaction to all these other animals. So let's bring a different animal, a koala. Do you know what a koala is?
Yes.
Is it okay to do the same thing to a koala?
Well,
to bring them to life, only to use them, and when you can no longer use them, to kill them.
Like say if that koala is aggressive and it was attacking you, yes, you had to kill them, because you don't want.
No, in a situation where they're not attacking you, in a situation where they're just minding their own business.
Then it's unnecessary.
So if it's unnecessary, then it is cruel, correct?
Well, I wouldn't say cruel. Like,
would you say that it is wrong if it's unnecessary? Is it wrong to do this to an animal if it's unnecessary?
Yeah, because you're just literally just. What was the point of killing an animal that just did nothing? So yeah.
Okay. So what do you mean by unnecessary? Because unnecessary food can still be unnecessary because it can be optional, right? Take for instance, cake is an optional food. It is not necessary. Do you think that it's okay to kill a koala to make cake out of them?
Yeah.
So why is it okay? Do you think it's okay to kill a dog to make cake out of them?
No, it's not okay to kill a dog.
So what is the difference between a dog and a koala that justifies this difference in treatment?
Well, so the reason it's unnecessary to kill a dog to make them out of cake, how you put it, especially for the koala, making them out of cake, it's just because what was the point of turning them into cake? I mean, you can't.
Pleasure.
But, huh?
Can't you spell
Have
pleasure?
you even tried a koala cake?
Yeah, it's just pleasure, man. It's just because you want to. It doesn't really matter what's the point of it, right? Like you just want to, you get pleasure from eating that cake. So the only way to make that special cake is to use koala blood. So you have to kill the koala. And the only way to make that special cake even more special is to use dog blood. So you have to kill a dog. And the most special cake out of all is with human blood. So you would have to kill a human. At which point do you stop?
Like what I mean is like what do I stop? Like like, dude, oh, I need to go back to school. But like, what? So what you're saying is like, like stop the killing, like.
No, what I'm saying is like, at which point do you think when does it become right or wrong? When does it become wrong? So if I kill a koala, I bring to life a koala to kill them, so that I can make cake out of their blood. I do the same thing to a dog, and I do the same thing to a human. But you say it's right for a koala, but wrong for a dog. Is that true?
No. Like, it's just like wrong, unnecessary.
So it's wrong for all of them, correct?
Yes. Because
what if it were a cow for exactly the same reason? Is it right or is it wrong to do exactly the same thing to a cow for a cake?
It'd be wrong, because why would you want to kill a cow just for a small piece of cake?
Exactly, right? Exactly. You're right about that one. And that's the whole point about this, because it is so unnecessary, right? A cake is not necessary, and you can make cake from other ingredients. You don't need to do this to animals. Right. So now if we bring it back to our normal consumption of food, do you think we can have a healthy diet without consuming animal products?
Well, yeah, I like eating corn.
Yeah, so there's corn, of course, there's other sources, there's plenty of sources. And you're right, we have science behind this. It's not the opinion of us. It's actual scientific. We have actual scientific evidence that we can survive and be as healthy as possible on a plant-based diet. So then, knowing that we can be as healthy as possible on a plant-based diet, does that not mean that absolutely any food that we would get from an animal, and by that I mean milk, meat, eggs, that knowing that we can survive without them and be healthy without them, doesn't that mean that these products are optional for us?
Well, since if you're vegan, well, it doesn't have to be optional for you. That's what you decide. Well, it can be optional.
I'm not.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so I'm sorry for interrupting you there. I'm not asking whether you can have them or not. I'm asking if they're optional, right? At this moment in our argument, let's imagine that you can select and choose whatever you want. Nobody's forcing you in any direction. What I'm asking is, do you think you need to consume them? Well, we already established that you don't need to consume them. Does that mean that all these products are optional? If we don't need to consume them, does that not make them optional?
No.
How does that figure?
So like what you're saying is that if we're not going to eat you were talking about the meat, right? Like it's not optional, the meat.
What I was talking about, let's say, yeah, meat. In the situation of meat, what I was saying is that we do not need it. We have scientific evidence that we do not need it. Therefore, meat is optional, correct?
Yes. Oh, I'm so dumb.
No, you're doing great. So meat is optional. Okay, so if meat is optional and any other animal product falls under the same thing because we have evidence that we do not need them, if they're all optional, does that not mean that what we do to animals is just as bad as what I just asked you about the cake, because the cake was also optional?
So like you're saying like all the other animals, we just stab them, like kill them, just for the sake of cake, the blood. That's what you're trying to say.
In an essence, yes, that is a good analogy. In an essence, we use these animals, we bring them to life, we use them and we kill them for food that is as trivial as cake is. Yes, that is as optional as cake is.
Yeah.
And do you think that's fair to do that to them?
No, it's not even fair. Like, just for freaking cake, no.
Exactly.
There are all variety options you can do with the animal. I mean, okay, wait. Sorry, I forgot. Like, I forgot. I gotta talk about the animal. So yeah, my bad.
Yeah. So it's unfair to the animals. We've established that, and now let's go back to you, like to your world, to your preference. In your world, in your world, the same thing applies. You do not need to consume animal products. Any animal product that you consume is the same as consuming cake because they're all optional to you. You could always choose something else. So then, what in your world makes it fair to put these animals, to bring them to life and kill them for something that you yourself do not need? I understand you get pleasure from it, but is that really a good enough reason? Does that make it fair because you get pleasure from it?
Well, like, you want me to say like what, like about me, like about the meat, like what, like, oh, like the liking of me, like, I mean, bro, like how I like the meat, like, you want me to explain what I will do?
No, I want you to. So I understand you like the meat. I understood that, right? What I want you to tell me is, do you think that your liking of meat is worth more than the hundreds of animals that will be brought to life only to be killed for the meat that you like?
Well, so my liking of meat, while all millions of animals being killed, well, I mean, shoot. All right.
You're doing great, by the way.
All right. So you're saying that a lot of animals are being killed just for the sake of my pleasure of meat. Just one.
Yeah.
Chicken is better. Chicken is
Ashwin, can you please wait for a second? Can you mute yourself?
No. Your intention is so
if
wrong.
you
Your intention is so wrong.
Okay, so Dra, yes, you are right. It is, all of these animals are killed for your pleasure. Yes, that is a factual statement. That is true.
So well, so how I would say is that wait, I'm lost in the sauce. So
I still think you're doing great, by the way.
okay, so they God, I forgot. I can't see that. So okay, fine. No, because I don't like other meats. I don't like pork chop because it tastes disgusting because the chewiness, all that. But it's meat. I would sometimes eat it, but still I don't like it because so I get really skinny. I get really malnourished because I stay up a lot. All that, yeah.
Yeah, but if, like, I understand from your perspective what you like and what you don't like, and that's true. I don't know how old you are, but maybe at some point you'll say it again.
I'm 12 years old.
Yeah. So do you remember maybe the things that you liked have changed over time?
Hold on, Chip. How old are you?
I remember my liking for soap when I was little, but not anymore because.
Hold on.
We need to stop.
This is a TOS break. Wait, how old are you? Sorry.
He said he's 12.
Yeah, it's so when it comes to Discords and such, we need to report anyone who's under 13 years of age, because you're not allowed to be on Discord if you're at the age of 12. So you kind of. Sorry,
yeah,
but we can't.
So we can't continue this conversation with you, Dra.
Right.
We can't continue with this conversation with you.
Well, it was a pleasure having a nice conversation with you.
Likewise.
Yeah. Likewise, just think about the animals, okay? Because that's what we want. And
Yeah.
I was just that last point I was making is that since you remember liking other things, you can also choose to like other things continuously. And if those other things are not violent towards animals, it's even better. That's it.
All right. Well, I'm gonna be turning 30 just a year. That's
Yeah,
it.
we can't long story short, you're probably gonna get insta banned from this Discord for a year until like you tell them or whatever. We cannot have a conversation with you. Even you being on this Discord, it's not allowed. So
Yeah,
just-
but we appreciate
Oh,
you
sorry,
having this
yeah.
conversation
Hold on,
either way.
what's
It's
her
just
name?
what the
What-
rules are.
Hold on, what's her name?
Droix.
All right. Bye.
Hold on.
Take care, bro.
Droid. Just give me one.
He left.
They left,
He
yeah.
grabbed
Like,
the ID, right?
This is yeah.
Yeah.
We should ask about age before that from now on.
No, there shouldn't be somebody under 13 in this Discord. He's
Yeah,
literally
TOS is
violating.
like 13 and older.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So this is not even like us giving you like an arbitrary line. This is the Discord rules.
Yeah. It's a pity because he was smart. He was engaging with the conversation.
But we can't. There are some things we shouldn't.
Yeah.
abide.
Yeah. You're right.
So
Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. I still got him. He's on the vegan ban. There you go.
Just in the side chat, there's some bit of back and forth, and I'd asked, like, do other animals also have this, I guess, constraint, you could call it, on them to not eat meat? Like, would you, like, if you could communicate, this is just in the side chat, like, if you could communicate to a lion, would you also advocate for it to not eat meat as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You would.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Assuming
what
you
would
could
the
communicate
arguments for that be?
Alternatives.
Yeah.
Would you use the
So-
same arguments then? You'd say,
So first of all, we have to kind of understand what veganism is. Veganism is a philosophy against exploitation of animals, right? If we can actually convince a lion to cause the least amount of suffering, and probably the ultimate goal is to not cause any suffering by consuming something else, then yeah, that'll be great. So for example, if a lion can literally walk into a shop, buy Beyond Meat, and just walk out, that'll be good.
And when
Yeah.
you say the word suffering, like by whose standard are we going with suffering there?
The victim.
The individuals.
So the collective.
individual who is experiencing the suffering.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm suffering, that I'm not allowed to eat meat just as much as somebody who is being eaten.
Well, you think
I don't know if I quite understand
you
that.
can experience the like, what do you call it, like the lack of access to something that you find pleasurable is as bad as killing somebody, like slitting their throat?
Well, I'm saying you couldn't say I'm not suffering that much, could you?
No, you
How would you know
can.
how much
like,
you're suffering?
We all have.
Oh, you would know that?
Yeah, we all have.
You know how
certain-
I'm feeling?
Yes. We all have. I can extrapolate. We all have preferences. We all have taste preferences, and I think I could say pretty definitively that my taste pleasure being denied is not as bad as my throat being slit. Right?
Yeah, but that's you saying that. But to me, it
Then
is
you're
just
gonna
as
have to
bad.
prove it. That's fine. You're gonna have to like justify it that your
Well,
taste
you're not going
pleasure.
to take my
is-
word for it?
No, your taste pleasure. Like
Oh.
I wouldn't take a.
So why
word
would I
for-
take your word with the
Yeah.
things you say?
Sure, you don't have to. So, but we're questioning
Oh,
you now.
so you don't? Okay.
Yeah. So,
So
if
my
your-
argument's just as valid
hold
as
on,
yours then.
Hold on. So if your taste pleasure is being denied is worse than you having your throat slit, you're gonna have to justify that.
Just like you just did earlier, because
Yeah,
you
sure.
said so.
So if you're,
So I'll use the same.
Are you
I'll use
making
the
the
same
claim?
argument
Sorry,
then, because
are
I
you
said
making the
so.
claim? Are you making the claim that your taste pleasure being denied is worse than you having your throat slit?
It's even worse if you deny my autonomy.
No,
so it's
please
even worse
answer the
than just
question.
taste
Please answer the
pleasure.
question. Please answer the question. So
I am.
is your
I am.
taste
So
pleasure?
it's not merely just taste pleasure. There's multiple things connected to that. Is
Yeah,
what
like
is
what?
what I'm saying. So it's deeper. Well, you're denying my autonomy, you know.
Yeah, sure.
To allow me to do
We
whatever I
deny
want in my own
autonomies
body.
in society all the time. When it comes
Oh.
to like trivial stuff. Yeah.
So
you can't punch
so
me.
I could deny the autonomy
if you
of an
want
animal's
to punch me, you
right
can't
to live.
punch me and not suffer for it, right? You can't punch me and remain not incarcerated, for instance, or not pay for it in any kind of way. That's me.
Yeah, but that's just
denying-
saying what
Yeah,
is the
that's
case, not what
society
ought be
if
the
I can
case.
finish. If I can finish. That's society denying your autonomy based on the fact that it's immoral to punch me, right? Your autonomy.
so
hold
society-
on, please. Jesus Christ. So your autonomy to want to punch me in the face is worth less than my autonomy to not be punched in the face. Yes?
According to who now? You.
Yeah, it's universal kind of. That.
Okay, why ought I go with how you want others to live, rather than the way I would like to live? Why should I go with the way you want me to live?
Oh, you can. You just have to justify it, right? I can like justify that my suffering of being punched in the face is worse than your suffering of not punching somebody in the face. Right?
You're saying this, but then you're not justifying it either.
Yeah, I can justify it.
Okay,
Would
wait.
you like me to?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So me being punched in the face would actually cause actual harm. You not punching somebody in the face wouldn't. To cause harm to you.
So
right?
everything you would feel being punched in the face is everything I feel if I was denied eating animals.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
would it,
so you just said it, and I
we're
just said
coming back,
it. So
yeah,
now
we're
what?
coming back now to the question: is you not having your taste pleasure just like abided?
Just like
by
you would like not to be punched in the
worse-
face, I feel the
Please?
same way by not
Please?
being able to have my taste
Please?
pleasures
Yeah,
confirmed or
Post,
whatever.
I think
My
this
question?
is gonna be a very bad faith conversation, like super bad faith.
Yeah.
Can I just-
Yeah, completely
because
agree.
it's subjective. You have any
No.
argument you
No,
make.
it's not.
we
Drops-
can also make
drops-
the same argument
No.
with the same validity.
No, so drops.
Yes, we
I'll
can.
ask you. I'll ask you simply. Do you think what Jeffrey Dahmer did was right or wrong?
I would, under my worldview, that would be wrong. I don't know if you could justify it under your worldview, to be honest. Other
Okay,
than
so
I
what
don't
Jeffrey,
like it.
Can I- Drox,
what Jeffrey
what is-
Dahmer did.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, let me just try this and then.
Sorry, go
you
ahead,
can-
George. I'm sorry.
Well, see, my worldview
Yeah.
is human beings aren't animals.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Okay. But
do you
human
believe
beings
humans
are
are animals?
animals. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
That's
they are?
that's
Oh.
a biological statement. Yes.
Okay.
That's a scientific statement. Do you not trust science?
I would say no on that in terms of their ontology.
So
or
you
their-
don't trust
their
that human
nature
beings
of
are?
human beings.
Do you think human beings are not mammals?
The classification science gives human beings is irrelevant to the
So
status
human
there.
beings
I mean,
are-
okay,
are
I'll
human
grant it.
beings
Fine, human
mammals?
beings are just mammals then. Sure, that's fine.
Okay, so we
we'll
are
go with that.
animals
I'll grant it. Yeah, we're nothing but animals. Do we have
Okay,
free
so
will?
then what is the morally significant difference between a human being and animal that makes it wrong to exploit and slaughter a human being for optional products and the right to exploit and slaughter an animal for optional products? And just to give
Okay,
you
so
a hint,
now that I've
we're looking
granted that
for
humans are
phenotypes.
animals, there'd be no distinction between the two, would there? So I'm taking your worldview now.
No,
So
no
there's
morally,
there's
no
humans
morally
are animals,
relevant
yeah.
distinction. No
Well,
morally
there's-
relevant distinction.
Is morality objective or subjective?
No,
It's
basically,
subjective. Like,
I
are you
can't- Oh, it's
like? But wait,
subjective.
before you
Okay.
do that,
So
drops.
just preference.
Before you do that, drops. I would really love it if you answered my question, which was, what is the morally significant difference according to your own worldview? What is the morally significant difference? And when I say different, I mean a phenotype. So I'll say, what is the morally significant phenotype difference between a human being and an animal that justifies the difference in treatment?
Well, if you're religious,
Can you
some
answer
sense,
the
or
fucking
Jewish
question?
Christian- I am. You would have
Let's
like
be
a
patient.
soul. You are created in. Again, but
So
I can
is soul a
grant that you
phenotype?
don't believe that.
Is a soul a phenotype?
I wouldn't class it as that. I wouldn't class it as a.
I asked you a
don't answer me
phenotype.
the
It's
fucking
more so of a
question.
nature that you have.
I asked you what is the morally significant different phenotype. So please answer that question.
Yeah, but you're asking me there under your worldview, like what's the difference of
No,
this
under your
to
worldview.
a-
Under
an
your
ape?
world.
Well, I've already
Well,
said
under your worldview. No,
it's
you
a
mentioned
complete
soul.
rejection of the whole the phenotype that human beings are may share some nature with animals in terms of like the components.
Okay, how can I measure soul?
Again, I'll grant that. Fine, we are soulless animals. Fine.
No, how
will
can I
grant
measure
that.
soul?
Oh, no, that's fine. I can take on
Sorry,
your
are
worldview just
you-
fine.
are you-
So we're soulless
you're
animals.
negging on what you said.
Drops. This
Mhm.
isn't my worldview. According to your worldview, I'm trying to understand.
Oh,
I
so it's
have
an
in
internal
front of me drops. I have in front of me right now 2 animals of different species in 2 different boxes. I want to kill one of them.
You're already
Don't ask me
calling them
why.
animals.
Don't
Can you
ask
let
me
him
why.
finish?
I want to kill both of them.
Okay, you want to kill the animal.
Please tell me, how can I find out which one to kill? I can look at their DNA, I can probe them,
The
I can
animal.
do whatever scientific argument, whatever, like literally. I have
Yeah,
a
the animal.
machine that tells me everything about them. So if you... Yeah,
You can
so
kill the
what can I
animal.
do to them? How should I
You
inspect
can
which
kill
one to
the
kill?
animal.
Both of them are
Can you
animals.
fucking let him finish?
Yes.
Yeah, I finished, but
Calm
both
down,
of them are
boys.
animals.
Jeez. Calm down.
No.
Oh,
You-
calm
you can kill
down.
both.
Oh my god. I'm just gonna disconnect you. Is that okay? Are you
You can- you
Yeah,
can
it's
take
clearly
life
in
off.
bad faith.
Wait,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
we
clearly
don't
in
have
bad
to
faith.
disconnect people like straight away, but we can just say it's a really bad faith conversation. We want to move on to someone
We
else, and if
already
they
did.
not, I'm not.
And give
Yeah,
I already
warnings.
said all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to drop people straight away. Just give warnings.
Oh, it just annoyed me, like
I'm-
extra annoyed me. When I'm told to calm down, I just my blood
I get
starts boiling. That's the feminist in me, right?
I think that's anyone. I don't think telling an angry person to calm down helps. Shall we move on?
I just fail to
yeah.
understand. I fail to understand how people can come in here and say that the difference is soul and have so much confidence in their nonsense.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but what? Like, can you form a scientific basis if you're gonna come in here with confidence?
Yeah. How do we measure a soul? That's a good one. I'm gonna remember that one, Chip.
I want to
Say
double
again, Chip?
check.
Oh,
Sorry.
CEO wants to say something. What do you want to say, CEO?
Like I wrote in the side chat, like we went from a 12-year-old to a 12-month-old.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Nice.
Literal fucking baby.
Any non-vegans in the channel who want to talk about veganism? Everyone here is just to listen. What the heck?
As you were
Well, the
making
Marvel
those
Do not
statements.
bite, except for Chip.
Somebody, Chris,
This-
you want to talk about your tribes. By the way, Chris is coming from my chat, so maybe either Justin or Chip can have a conversation with Chris. Turn on your mic, sweetie. Turn on your mic.
I believe he has a big problem with Chip, does he not?
Chris,
He does?
turn on your mic, please. Good.
To me?
Yes.
Sure.
No, this was still Drops. Drops, can you please mute your mic? We're talking to Chris Townsend now.
Sure.
Chris, mic check, mic check.
Can you say something, Chris, so that we know that your microphone works or that you can hear us? Can you give us a sign?
Blink twice if you need help.
Yeah. Somebody just pointing out in my chat that getting on Discord is easier than slitting goat throats. So, Chris, you better figure this out as the superior being, right? Otherwise, you will be reduced to the goats whose throats you're slitting. If you can't figure out how to turn on a mic on Discord.
I mean, I can jump in whilst he's sorting out his mic if you like, just to finish off.
You're
we're
not
gonna
coming
have
in
that
good
faith
faith.
discussion.
Yeah.
I am.
No, you're
We're gonna
not.
have
You're
bad
not.
faith
You're not.
discussions, and if you keep talking, we're gonna kick you for 24 hours. So that.
I mean, if there's no one else, is there anyone else in the V who wants to join on VC?
Chris is responding in the chat. Chris, can you hook up a microphone and have a conversation with us?
Turn on your mic. Come on. You were a big man in my chat, so not up. I'm losing my
They
patience.
always
I'm gonna
are.
go soon, guys. I'm losing my patience like crazy.
I just quickly have to say that he talked about subjectivity, or they do a lot today with religion, but then religious works can be interpreted in hundreds of ways and are completely subjective from a scientific point of view.
Thank you.
So it's all subjective.
What about fish?
What about fish? So what do you think it would be okay to take a dog, drown them in water, and then eat them?
No.
So then why would it be okay to take a fish, asphyxiate them, and eat them?
Because it's subjective.
Because it's subjective, another person with it subjective. But you know what? When you say it's listen, subjective is not a pass-all. Subjective. You don't want to live in a world where somebody justifies rape, murder by saying that it is subjective. Okay, subjectivity does not mean that you can do whatever you want and call it moral. Subjectivity means you have some form of subjective axioms, and from those you form logical statements based on those. Or if you want to go backwards, you go from a belief that you have and you construct backwards to the axioms. But either way, you cannot just say, well, I think this is okay, therefore it is okay. Because that would literally justify any form of horrific thing that has happened throughout humanity. Everything that was bad was justified by saying that that individual who did it thought they were doing the good thing.
Are the starting axioms objective or subjective?
The axioms, they're subjective.
So we shouldn't follow subjective things, but your whole starting worldview is from a subjective point of view.
Why not? Why wouldn't you
That's the initial
follow
foundation.
subjective things?
It's a contradiction. Boom.
No,
What
it
is the
isn't, because let me explain.
No. What is
Yeah,
the
so-
contradiction, please? Well, please
He left.
provide what the contradiction is.
We ought not
Well,
follow
here's
things that are
one-
subjective,
Oh, sorry.
which is subjective.
Seriously,
No.
Drops. If you don't stop unmuting yourself, we're gonna kick you. This
Yeah,
is the
so Drops,
second
what
one.
I explained. Yeah, so what I explained wasn't that statements. I said axioms are subjective. Statements lead to axioms. You can't make subjective statements. You can make subjective axioms. And how do you know whether a statement is an axiom or not? You have to test it. Okay, that's the whole point about it. But let's move on because Chris found the mic, so Chris can speak now.
Wait.
Chris, can you speak now?
No.
No, they can't.
Also, one religion could say, let's burn women. The other says, let's not do it. Who is right? And then someone else could come into the picture and say, hey, maybe women can feel just like men, so let's not do it. And that's like kind of the vegan position.
Yeah, the vegan secular position, I might add, right?
Yes.
There are vegan Christian positions. There are vegan Muslim positions. So, on the objective experience of a religious vegan, you can also it also leads to veganism. Is my point, or can lead to
Agree.
veganism depending on your interpretation. Because guess what? You interpret the Bible or the Quran the way you want to, basically by ignoring some stuff that you don't like and embracing other stuff that you do like. That's
Right, I meant in the sense that we look at the experience of the subject.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, if everybody wants to have a conversation with us, please do. But when we say we should be in good faith, this isn't a point of I might use the wrong words, you might use the wrong words. Does not make an argument right or wrong, okay? Like the whole point is understanding what the argument behind it is and discussing the argument. If you want to discuss the words of the argument, that's a different thing. We're not looking into that. We're looking into discussing actual arguments because, we want to get people to understand why it is wrong to oppress animals.
Do you think fishing is okay?
No.
No, fishing is not okay because fishing is essentially taking an innocent sentient being, a fish, out of their environment, asphyxiating them to death for something that you do not need. Do you need to consume fish?
I don't know.
No. So then why would it be okay to take their life away from them for something that you don't need?
That not good.
There you go.
Yeah, so if it's not good, then fishing is not good.
No, but what about egg and milk? Is it same thing that the fish?
Do you know what happens in the egg industry at all?
No.
Nothing? Never seen anything about it? So in order to lay eggs, what has to happen? Or sorry, in order to get chickens into existence, what has to happen?
They egg.
Yeah, but they come from eggs, right? But they have to be bred into existence. So again, with chickens, just like with all animals, a lot of this breeding is done manually, meaning that humans have to like engage with those animals' sexual organs in some way. Usually that involves like in some way getting semen from the male. That's like oftentimes through manual stimulation, and then inserting that semen in the female animal. So basically any sort of animal product that you use is going to be in some way a result of sexual exploitation, or at least exploitation of those animals' reproductive organs. So that's just like baseline all of this stuff, right? So now whenever we breed chickens, right, there's male and female chickens. Yeah?
Yeah.
Which, do both of them lay eggs? Or do only one of them lay eggs?
Is it female chicken that lay egg?
Correct. Female chickens lay eggs. So the male chickens don't lay eggs. So what do you think happens to them?
They become roosters and die.
Well, they would become roosters. That's true. So some of them, a very small number of them would become roosters. But because those male chicks aren't needed, basically on the first day or so of their life, they're put on a conveyor belt. And that conveyor belt drops them into a giant macerator, which is essentially a blender. So they get blended alive their first day of life because they're not really profitable for the egg industry. Now, that's most of the time. Sometimes they'll suffocate them in bags. In rare cases, I think they burn them even. So just again, like 50% of chickens are going to die on the first day or so of their life in like the most horrific ways possible for eggs. And that's after they are sexually or reproductively exploited, right? Okay, so then we actually...
Oh, I'm sorry, Justin, 1 second. Can you check what I'm streaming? Because I'm streaming exactly what Justin is saying just now. And you can see it. Can you see my stream?
Can I see your stream?
Yeah, you can also see it, but I was asking this person who is...
Oh, okay.
What's the dog doing?
So, Mankage, can you click on my stream and view that stream? Just click on watch stream and you'll see exactly what Justin is describing. Can you see it?
So,
this is what happens to baby chicks. Go on, Justin, sorry.
Oh, I see. Sorry. I understand what's happening there. I was confused for a second. So they're reproductively exploited, and then the male chicks die. And then those female chickens, we want to get the most eggs out of them. So what do you think typically happens to them? Do we give them tons of room to move around, or do we cramp them in small spaces?
So we do second.
Yes, that's right. They're cramped in small spaces because that's what's economically most profitable. Then chickens, eventually their egg laying will sort of fall off. So at first they can produce a lot of eggs, and then as time goes on, they produce less eggs. So once they stop producing a certain amount of eggs, what happens to them?
They die.
Well, they don't just die. I mean, they do die, that's true, but we kill them, right? And so usually that's around 2 years of age typically. And egg-laying hens, I think, can live between 5 or 10 years. Someone can fact check me on the exact years there. So basically, we reproductively exploit them. We kill all the males. We confine them in small spaces. And then when they're no longer profitable, we murder them, okay, at a fraction of their lifespan. So while it can seem like eggs, well, I'm just taking an egg from the chicken. There must be like no death or suffering or anything there. There is death and suffering, right? And clearly this all falls under exploitation, right? We are using them for selfish reasons. So given all that, you said, well, what's wrong with fish? And we kind of moved on to eggs. Does that seem like something that you would be opposed to?
I guess you.
You guess so?
Yeah, I am. I feel like yes, not good that they do to chicken that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think like the thing is to understand there is like, it's not even just the suffering per se, but rather that like we view them as objects. When we're talking about veganism, we want to basically tear apart this mindset that these animals are something rather than someone, that they're objects rather than like persons or sentient beings. Because if you look back in history, basically every time that we take someone and treat them like a something, just horrible shit happens to them. And so vegans are trying to basically tear apart that mindset and say, these animals, they are someone, they are not something, they're sentient beings, and we should treat them as such, like in the same way that you treat a human or to some extent a dog. Some people still objectify dogs. Does that make sense?
But what if there would be a good way of like doing that, but we would treat them very good.
I do not know what you
What
said.
if we treat them
Someone else?
very good? Like,
we treat
just
them very
give a
good.
higher welfare.
Okay.
Yeah,
so I think that's
we do. Continue.
I think there's just two things. Like, I don't know if you've ever like watched any documentaries about like certain business practices or like looking into the way that corporations typically do things. But what just one thing to start is that they'll say they're doing something good or some new regulation will be put in that says, hey, you have to do this thing nicer or better or whatever. And this is humans, animals, all across the board. And then we go back in and we find out, oh, that corporation actually just found a loophole around it. They're not actually treating them better, or they're treating them like a minor bit better, but still horribly. So I think just the one thing to say is just on a practical level, I don't think this ever gets to be very good. I think that like essentially the profit motive is to skirt any sort of regulation like that as much as is humanly possible. But this is kind of what I was saying, where the thing that keeps this all alive is the perception that these animals are objects. So like, if I told you I was farming humans, right? And I was doing it in a really mean way, all the stuff I just described. But then I told you, well, hold on, I'm gonna farm these humans and I'm gonna give them a little more space. And I might let them live a little longer. I won't kill them quite so quickly. You know what I mean? Would you be okay with that human farming?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, and so just to understand in historical context, during the early 1800s, these arguments were made. So there were people who wanted to abolish slavery. They were called abolitionists, but there were also welfarists. So there were people who were like, yeah, I also think slavery is wrong, human slavery in this case. But what if we just treat them better, right? And then there were people who saying we should abolish this. And so I think the thing you're saying, it's a very human place to go, because when you hear that individuals are being treated poorly, your brain wants to go just like the next step, just a little bit. Let's get it a little bit better. Let's increase their welfare, So this is the thing we see across human history whenever there's oppression. Do you think, though, like if you go back to the early 1800s, who was right there? Were the welfarists right or were the abolitionists right?
I don't know.
Well, so like, do you think back then, do you think that we should have abolished slavery, or do you think we should have just made life better for the slaves?
I feel like we should end slavery then.
Exactly. And that's what we think. Vegans think
now-
we should end animal slavery for similar reasons.
Okay.
Just an FYI, I am starting to stream.
Okay.
So
cool.
Why
this,
start slavery in the
for
first
everybody's
place?
information.
Yeah. Why even start slavery in the first place? Exactly.
Well, that's a preemptive strike rather than a after the fact thought.
I did not start slavery, so I don't know her answer.
Well, the question is why continue it, right? Slavery. You didn't start slavery, but you're continuing the support of it.
Yeah, I would not support it anymore. That you
You won't support animal slavery anymore? Is that what you're saying?
no, yeah, but I don't
Awesome.
know how.
Okay. Well, yeah, we can definitely get you some resources if you want to see how to transition to a vegan lifestyle, as far as diet, clothing, things like that. I'm sure someone can drop some stuff in the chat for you. There's like Challenge 22, Vegan Boot Camp, things like that.
Ooh, vegan boot camp.
So,
I should
quick
find out.
question.
I dropped
Quick
challenge22.com just now.
Sorry to be pushy, but quick question, Australian here. How do you guys, like, with your vegan diet, how do you supplement the B12 deficiency from the meat?
I
Wait,
just take a
so wait.
multivitamin.
Yeah,
Sorry,
plus
go
you
ahead.
made a lot of statements there. What do you mean vitamin deficiency from meat? I had a B12 deficiency when consuming animal products. I believe, and I think VPM agrees with me, that most people on this planet should be supplementing B12 regardless if they're vegan or not.
Absolutely. I almost fell
Yeah.
into deficiency when I was a meat eater. Didn't even know it because meat eaters are not screened for B12 deficiency
Exactly.
unless they already have symptoms of it. So just to make sure that you don't fall into deficiency, you should probably supplement. But more than that, the animals are supplemented. The animals that are farmed for meat are given, in case of cows, they're given cobalt, which is like a component of B12. And in case of other animals, they're just directly given like a B12 supplement into their feed. And that's how you get B12, through supplementation. So just skip the animal slaughter and get the pill into your mouth.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I'm at high risk for B12 deficiency. I take medication that like lowers my stomach acid significantly, and I basically take about as high of a dose as they'll even let a human take. So and what that does is that it makes me at high risk for magnesium deficiency and B12 deficiency, and my B12 is fine. So
Is that
I'm
the
probably
same?
like one of the highest risk groups for B12 deficiency.
So does that work the same with iron? Do you have to supplement with iron tablets or?
No, not unless
No,
you have
I
like
mean,
an
like-
actual issue. If you have an issue
So-
that makes your iron absorption low, right, and that would be on meat eating or plant-based diet, right? Then you have to take a supplement. But if you don't have an issue with iron absorption, you just eat tofu, potatoes, anything else has iron in it, like greens. The green leafy foods have a lot of iron in them.
And legumes too.
Yeah,
Like
lentils,
spinach.
beans, pretty high in iron.
You could just lick on an iron pipe. That's what I do. Iron is iron, baby.
I'll give you just like one more
do that.
anecdote.
But there is a thing called iron fish that we've gotten where you just basically put a fish made out of iron. It's just in the shape of a fish, but it's basically you put iron blocks into your curry and it leaches the iron into your food. Like unlike B12, all other sources of these micronutrients can be found within food. B12 is made from a bacteria, and it's kind of because of the state of the world, because it's hyper sterilized, we struggle to get it. You can get all the other nutrients from a well planned vegan plant-based food system.
Good
So-
morning.
Did any of you guys like switch from a meat diet to a vegetarian diet and actually have like ill effects within a limited amount of time between
I can tell you
switching on
something.
diets?
Well,
I would, if you
Ma-
just want a quick anecdotal, yeah, sorry, Deepak, what's up?
no, go ahead, Valak. Go ahead.
Just
That's
a quick anecdotal experience. I watched Joey Capstring after eating like scrambled eggs or whatever. I watched Joey Capstring and I completely stopped eating animal products. The only issue I had was just extra fiber, so I was giving out gas, you know, a little bit extra for a week, and then it was fine.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say the same thing. I farted a lot for the first like probably 2 weeks afterwards. So
No,
not great for my
animals,
girlfriend, but
animals are origin of the Earth system.
Sorry, can you repeat that
Say that again.
completely?
What?
Can you repeat what you just said, Brian?
Yes. Animals are origin of our existence.
Yeah, nope, I don't understand what you're saying. Sorry.
They were very vital to our evolution, and without them, we wouldn't have evolved. And yeah, that's true.
I mean,
They were.
we need to take care
Yeah.
of animals. Is
We need to take care of them.
Duty.
Yeah.
Stewardship.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. We need to take care.
yeah, I don't think you get much disagreement there.
So is it
Not in the
good
spring,
care
anyway.
of somebody if you slit their throat?
For
I mean,
example,
are you
for
gonna make a
example-
cake from them? Human cake? Yum.
For
Well,
example, I have honey in a pot. For example, honey is a good medicine for humans and another another animals with salt. Honey with salt is a good medicine, but the
But
wrong
then
of
you're
this
not-
case is exploiting beat community.
Yeah, but then
Guys,
you're
we
not
need to
take it
be
thinking
one
of
at
the
a time.
animals.
Wait, I know what's
You're
gonna
thinking of
happen. Let's
yourself.
take it one at a time. Just
Yeah.
one at a time. So
Can I?
real quick, because I wanna step slowly into it because I know that everyone wants to jump. But Brian, do you eat any animals?
I dislike this. Look, I eat. Yes, I eat meat. I'm not vegetarian. Look, but I'm no. Yes, when I eat meat, I'm contributing. I'm sorry for my pronunciation. I'm supporting the animals. Killing the animals. Exploiting. But I want to be a vegetarian. I want to be change my way of the eat. I don't share the I don't share the exploiting of animals. I love animals.
So wait, if we can provide you with resources that you can thrive on a plant-based diet, would you then consider adopting a plant-based diet and then maybe going vegan?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat plants? The plants.
Sure. So if we can help you and send you resources to help you
Yes.
adopt a plant-based diet, a diet that consists with plants only, no animals being exploited in that diet, would you then adopt that diet?
For example, I consider the tree of the forest are our brothers because they need the oxygen. I'm sorry, what do you say this word? Oxygen.
Oxygen, yeah.
I'm sorry, oxygen like us.
So I'll ask. So as I asked you, if we provide you with the resources required, would you adopt a plant-based diet?
I don't want take animals in my house and plants or cats. I don't want make prisoner animals in my house. They need to if the domestic animals, I can share with them care.
But that's not
I
the
don't know if
question I
you
asked
understand.
you. So I ask you, imagine that there is no issue with your diet. Imagine that you going from today, you can live without killing or hurting or harming any animal. Would you choose to do so if you had the resources required to do so?
Okay. It's a interesting question. I don't know. Really, I don't know.
Why not? Why is it that you don't know? It seems to me like you said you don't want to hurt animals, therefore it should be an
Yes.
easy yes.
I don't want to hurt animals, but when I don't know how do you explain me.
What country do you live in?
I'm from Cuba. Hi for all people in the chat.
What's the economic status with Cuba? Are most people
Uh,
poor or are they rich?
How do you say agricola?
Agriculture.
Agriculture is the most
Common job.
yes.
See,
But
what I've seen talking to people around the world, a lot of this comes from whether their countries are poor. It's out of necessity. Not a lot of countries have options.
No.
wait a minute.
Most poor countries in fact eat more plant-based products than than countries who are rich.
Yeah.
The problem, listen, the problem, I think my humble opinion, the main problem in art, with this problem, don't care to animals like plants and whatever other animals, dog, cats. The main problem, in my humble opinion, is that we are killing us in a war. We are killing us. How do you think about how do you think about a person that killing between them?
Right, guys, that's it. I'm fucking fried, both physically and mentally. Jesus Christ. Axel is live, so that's good news. Go check him out. Go Arian, go troll him or something, right? Everybody, hit that like button on my stream, then hit that like button on Axel's stream when you get there. Thank you for coming. See you.